Room 1. Pogo the Clown costume from John Wayne Gacy. Situated in the center of Room 1, directly facing the vault entrance, is the clown suit worn by John Wayne Gacy. Known as Pogo the Clown, Gacy used this alter ego to perform at community events while secretly luring his victims to his home. He murdered at least 33 young men and boys in Illinois between 1972 and 1978. He buried most of the bodies in the crawl space of his home. Gacy was sentenced to death and executed by lethal injection at Stateville Correctional Center on May 10, 1994. The costume is preserved upright, symbolizing the duality of innocence and horror that defined Gacy's public and private lives. 2. Tattooed human skin from Lowell Sloan, the tattoo collector. In the lower right corner of Room 1, displayed in its own shadow box case, are 3 tattoos made of human skin, including an entire arm sleeve. These came from Lowell's victims, a successful anesthesiologist who murdered 26 people between 2014 and 2022 in Austin, Texas. He selected tattooed individuals to skin them alive and add to his grotesque collection. He was killed by Dexter in a tattoo parlor to prevent Lowell from murdering another target. 3. Victim photographs from Gareth Pike and his twin brother, the Gemini Killers. Mounted in the upper right corner of Room 1, leading toward Room 2, is a grid of 12 photographs, the most trophies received from any killer. Accounting for 24 deaths, these images show victims posed post-mortem, captured in pairs. They belong to the Gemini Killers, Gareth and his identical twin, known for staging killings in mirrored symmetry. The photos are presented in a formal, gallery-style frame above other trophies, emphasizing the killer's obsession with duality and presentation. Both twins were killed by Dexter. Gareth's twin killed in Dexter's apartment, and Gareth was killed while at Prater's castle in front of Al Jolly, Charlie, and Prater, with Dexter making it look like self-defense. 4. Victim's driver's license from Ronald Schmidt, the dark passenger. Just below the Gemini photographs is a single blood-marked driver's license, given to Prater by Dexter. It belonged to Tyler Day, the first known victim of Ronald Schmidt, a rideshare predator active in New York City. Schmidt, dubbed the Dark Passenger, decapitated 12 victims using a serrated fiber wire, keeping their licenses as trophies and marking the faces with an X in blood. Dexter killed him, disposed of his remains in a furnace, and took his spot in Prater's serial killer club. 5. Rings and cufflinks from Mia LaPierre, Lady Vengeance. Also on the same vertical display wall, beneath Schmidt's license, is a set of 2 rings and a pair of cufflinks, all recovered from the bodies of Mia LaPierre's victims. Known as Lady Vengeance, Mia began killing at age 15, and supposedly targeted abusers across the East Coast. In reality, several of Mia's kills were innocent, with her killing for sport because she enjoyed it. She bludgeoned her victims and gouged out their eyes, often taking jewelry as tokens.
Store. I think some chick's trying to murder him. I heard her call herself Lady Vengeance or some. You gotta send help.
Sir, try and stay calm.
Stay calm, my ass!
Dexter set her up to be arrested, and Charlie paid off a guard to kill her while she was in jail. She was hung, made to look like suicide. 6. Map and cipher letter from the Zodiac Killer. In the upper left corner of Room 1, a glass case displays a map of Northern California along with a copy of one of the Zodiac Killer's infamous cipher letters. The killer, never caught, taunted law enforcement with cryptograms and claimed 37 victims in his last confirmed letter in 1974. The cipher in the vault remains unsolved. 7. Murder Castle Blueprint from Dr. Henry Howard Holmes, H.H. Holmes. Below the Zodiac display, pinned in the left wall, is a faded architectural blueprint believed to be from H.H. Holmes's infamous murder castle in Chicago. Holmes designed the structure with hidden rooms, chutes, and trapdoors to carry out his murders undetected during the 1893 World's Fair. Holmes is widely considered to be America's first serial killer. He was convicted and sentenced to death for the murder of one of his accomplices, but he confessed to 27 murders. Holmes was hanged on May 7, 1896. The blueprint shows an annotated floor plan with several concealed passages marked in red ink. 8. Victim list and notes from Belle Gunness, Hell's Bell. Directly beneath the Holmes blueprint is a handwritten slip of paper recovered from the Gunness property in LaPorte, Indiana. Belle Gunness was suspected of murdering over 40 suitors and children in the early 1900s. She supposedly died in a house fire, but the body was approximately 5 inches shorter and 50 pounds lighter than that of Gunness. The slip contains victim names and notes in her handwriting, documenting her methodical planning. 9. Rat poison box from Nani Das, the Giggling Granny. Below the Gunness trophy is a preserved vintage container of rat-nip poison. Nani Das, known as the Giggling Nanny, poisoned at least 11 family members over 2 decades. In all, it was revealed that she had killed 4 husbands, 2 children, one of her sisters, her mother, 2 grandsons, and a mother-in-law. She was only tried and convicted of 1 murder and received a life sentence. Doss died from leukemia in the hospital ward of the Oklahoma State Penitentiary in 1965. The poison was her weapon of choice, often slipped into food and drinks. The worn label is partially stained with visible age damage on the tin. 10. Refrigerator from Jeffrey Dahmer.
Holy
You really like serial killers.
I pride myself on finding the best of the best in every field, so why not death?
Between Room 1 and Room 2, in the archway passage stands a worn refrigerator unit. This is supposed to be the bloody fridge, where he stored some of the body parts of his victims, recovered from Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment in Milwaukee. Dahmer murdered 17 men and boys between 1978 and 1991, engaging in acts of necrophilia and cannibalism. On November 28, 1994, Dahmer was beaten to death by a fellow inmate at the Columbia Correctional Institution in Wisconsin. The refrigerator represents one of the most macabre parts of his legacy. Room 2. 11. Kill table from Brian Moser, the ice truck killer.
That is the table where the ice truck killer took his own life.
At the center of Room 2 is a grated metal kill table, originally from Brian Moser's residence. Known as the ice truck killer, Moser drained his victims' blood and dismembered their bodies with surgical precision, often arranging parts and displays to get Dexter's attention. Though publicly believed to have died by suicide on this table, Moser was actually killed by his brother, Dexter. The table was later used by Prater during his failed attempt to force Dexter into killing Angel Batista, and finally by Dexter himself to execute Prater. 12. Cloth noose from Israel Keys. In the upper right corner, mounted in a frame, hangs a hand-tied cloth noose. It was recovered from one of the kill sites associated with Israel Keys, a meticulous killer who operated across multiple states. Keys prepared kill kits in advance and buried them across the country, returning years later to use them. He was suspected of murdering 11 people. While being held in jail at the Anchorage Correctional Complex, he died by suicide by cutting his wrists and attempted strangulation on December 1, 2012. This noose is presumed to be linked to one of his unconfirmed murders. 13. Victim teeth from Robert Picton, the pig farmer. Below the Israel Keys display, in a segmented shadow box, is a collection of human teeth. These belong to victims of Robert Picton, a pig farmer in British Columbia who confessed to murdering 49 women. Picton allegedly ground up the remains and fed them to his pigs. Picton died in 2024 after being attacked in prison by another inmate at the Port Cartier institution in Quebec. The teeth in Prater's vault, partially decayed and still bearing traces of enamel wear patterns, are displayed in a sterilized glass case. 14. Leather gloves from Samuel Little. Further below, another case holds a pair of worn leather gloves attributed to Samuel Little. The most prolific serial killer in U.S. history was convicted of 8 murders and confessed to committing 93 murders between 1970 and 2005. The FBI has confirmed at least 60 of those kills. He often strangled women and sketched portraits of them from memory. Before his death on December 30, 2020, Little was serving a sentence at California State Prison, Los Angeles County. These gloves are believed to have been used in several of those killings, with fibers linked to multiple crime scenes. 15. Twin blades from the Harpe brothers. On the right wall of Room 2, encased vertically, are 2 short blades used by the Harpe brothers, Makaja and Wiley, 18th century highwaymen, and some of America's earliest recorded serial killers. The blades are preserved with remnants of rust and blood and are displayed in parallel to highlight the brothers' brutal efficiency. Sometime during 1797, the Harpes began a vicious crime spree through Tennessee, Kentucky, and Illinois. The Harpes later confessed to killing a confirmed 39 people, but the estimated combined total, including unknown victims, may number more than 50. They are alleged to have butchered anyone at the slightest provocation, regardless of age, including babies. As he lay dying, Makaja Harpe confessed to 20 murders. While Harpe was still conscious, Moses Stegall slowly cut off the outlaw's head. Later, the head was spiked on a pole at a crossroads near the Moses Stegall cabin that is still known as Harpe's Head, along a modern-day highway in Webster County, Kentucky. In January 1804, Wiley Harpe was executed by hanging. His head was also cut off and placed high on stakes along the Natchez Trace as a warning to other outlaws. 16. Serrated blade from Andre Crawford. Adjacent to the Harpe blades is a serrated knife attributed to Andre Crawford, who murdered 11 women on Chicago's South Side. Crawford frequently returned to his crime scenes to violate corpses. In December of 2009, Crawford was found guilty on all counts and sentenced to life imprisonment without parole, and was imprisoned in Illinois at the Menard Correctional Center. He died on March 18, 2017, 2 days before his 55th birthday, of liver cancer. The blade shows heavy discoloration and signs of forensic testing. 17. Bloodied switchblade, from Richard Cottingham, the torso killer. Next to Crawford's weapon is a blood-stained switchblade, once used by Richard Cottingham, who earned his nickname by dismembering his victims. He often kept body parts as souvenirs. The blade's mechanism is rusted shut, but blood traces are visible on the edge and hilt. Cottingham committed 18 murders in New York State and New Jersey between 1972 and 1978. He was nicknamed by the media as the Torso Killer and the Times Square Ripper due to acts of mutilation. In 2009, Decades after his first murder convictions, Cottingham claimed that he had murdered at least 100 women in various regions of the United States. He is currently incarcerated at Southwood State Prison in New Jersey with multiple life sentences from both states. 18. Bloodied blade from Jack the Ripper. At the center of this weapons grouping is a large Victorian-era knife, purportedly tied to Jack the Ripper. Though the killer was never identified, the blade was recovered from Whitechapel and exhibits similar patterns to wounds found on several real-life victims. It's positioned as the focal point of the display, elevated slightly above the other knives. 19. Letter and parking ticket from David Berkowitz, son of Sam. Beneath the knife display sits a framed letter and parking ticket connected to David Berkowitz. The ticket, issued near a murder scene, was key in identifying him. The letter, written in Berkowitz's cryptic style, taunted police and media alike. Both documents are yellowed with age, sealed behind UV protective glass. Berkowitz was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison for each murder, to be served consecutively. He is at Shawangunk Correctional Facility in Ulster County, where he is claimed to have found God and is involved with the prison ministry. His next parole hearing is scheduled for May of 2026. 20. Hatchet from the Axemen of New Orleans. On the north wall, a bloodied hatchet with a wooden handle is labeled as belonging to the Axemen of New Orleans, an unidentified killer who targeted Italian grocers in the early 1900s. This weapon was thrown by Dexter during his confrontation with Charlie, injuring her arm and forcing her to drop her weapon. 21. Spiked nail bat, taken from Keith Bauer, the Kenton clubber. Beside the Axeman's weapon hangs a nailed baseball bat, still stained with dark smears. It belonged to Keith Bauer, who bludgeoned at least 3 victims in the Canton area.
And that you're a serial killer? Good luck with that.
Let me talk to him. Give me 5 minutes of his time.
After his death at the hands of Charlie, this bat was added to the collection. It rests on a diagonal wall hook beside the Axeman's hatchet, his file in the drawers, marked red for inactive and intended for disposal. 22. Bushmaster XM15 rifle from John Allen Muhammad and Lee Boyd Malvo, the DC sniper. Centrally mounted above the other weapons on the north wall is a .223 caliber Bushmaster XM15 sniper rifle, complete with a stand. This weapon was used by Muhammad and his accomplice Malvo in the 2002 sniper attacks around Washington, D.C., which killed 10 people. In 2003, Muhammad was sentenced to death, and in 2009, he was executed by lethal injection. Malvo, a juvenile, received 6 life sentences in Maryland and 3 in Virginia. In 2017, Malvo's life sentences in Virginia were vacated without parole on appeal. 23. Handgun from Daniel Lee Siebert, the Southside Slayer. To the right of the sniper rifle is a black handgun once used by Daniel Lee Siebert. Known for murdering multiple women across several states, Siebert's weapon is displayed with its safety switch locked and a tag referencing recovered shell casings. He was convicted of 5 murders and confessed to at least 12 more. Siebert died on April 22, 2008, in Holman Prison near Atmore, of complications from cancer. 24. Sawed-off Ruger rifle from Joseph Christopher, the Midtown Slasher. Further to the right is a sawed-off Ruger 1022 semi-automatic rifle used by Joseph Christopher, who targeted black men in racially motivated attacks in New York. Christopher claimed that he committed 13 murders, but was only convicted of 3. He died in prison due to a rare form of male breast cancer on March 1, 1993, at the age of 37. The weapon's shortened barrel and custom grip are clearly visible behind its locked acrylic display. 25. Fine china plate from Joseph D'Angelo, the Golden State Killer. Beneath the row of firearms, sitting on a white pedestal, is a cracked porcelain plate, part of a set used during D'Angelo's break-ins. He often placed dishes on his victims' backs to prevent them from moving. D'Angelo was a former police officer who committed at least 13 murders, at least 51 essays and more than 120 burglaries across California between 1974 and 1986. In August 2020, D'Angelo received multiple consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole and is incarcerated in protective custody at California State Prison, Corcoran. This particular plate was shattered when Prater fired at Dexter during the climax of their confrontation. 26. Bloodied chainsaw from Max Bernard Frank, the Chainsaw Professor. Next to the fine china is a heavily rusted chainsaw caked in dried blood. Max Bernard Frank, dubbed the Chainsaw Professor, used it in at least 3 confirmed murders. He was sentenced to 25 years to life, but died of a heart attack in Corcoran State Prison on September 18, 1997. This weapon is seen again during Dexter's final battle in the vault. 27. Ruger Mini 14 and Topo Map from Robert Hansen, the Butcher Baker. On the upper left wall of Room 2 is a dual display, a Ruger Mini 14 rifle and a topographical hunting map. Hansen abducted women, flew them to the Alaskan wilderness, and hunted them for sport. Hansen was captured in 1983 and sentenced to 461 years imprisonment without the possibility of parole. He died in 2014 of natural causes at age 75. The map is annotated with potential kill zones. 28. Cut ponytails from Al Walker, aka Al Jolly, Rapunzel.
A gift from one of my guests, Rapunzel. You'll meet him tonight.
Great, I get to meet Ponytail Guy.
On the lower left wall, across from the pig farmer's display, is a chilling arrangement of 5 severed ponytails. Al Jolly, a Midwestern father of 4, strangled women with long hair and kept these as trophies. The strands are tied with faded hairbands and arranged by length on a black velvet backing. Al is the only killer from Prater's club to live. However, Dexter finds Al's file and takes it with him to track him down. Room 3, 29. Blood slide box and kill knife from the Bay Harbor butcher, misattributed to James Dokes.
I've missed you, friends.
At the center of room 3 is a pedestal holding an open wooden box containing 23 preserved blood slides, each representing a victim of the so-called Bay Harbor butcher. A tag misattributes these killings to Sergeant James Dokes. Also on display is a hunting knife, part of the butcher's kill kit. In reality, the slides and the weapon belong to Dexter Morgan. During Prater's vault confrontation, Dexter uses the same knife to kill Prater and reclaims his blood slides before escaping. 30. Sword of John the Revelator from Travis Marshall, the Doomsday Killer. In the lower right corner stands a Roman-era gladius. This sword, once wielded by Travis Marshall, was used to stab 6 of his 13 known victims. Each murder was designed as part of a biblical tableau, as Marshall believed he was enacting the Book of Revelation. The sword's edge is dulled from use, but the hilt bears faint traces of blood and religious engravings. Dexter used this same sword when he killed Travis Marshall years earlier. 31. Pentagram sheet from Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. Below the Doomsday Sword is a blood-stained cloth inscribed with a pentagram, a ritualistic signature left by Richard Ramirez at multiple crime scenes. From April 1984 to August 1985, Ramirez murdered at least 15 people during various break-ins, with his crimes usually taking place after dark. He was convicted and sentenced to death in 1989, and died of complications secondary to B-cell lymphoma while awaiting execution on June 7, 2013. The sheet was taken from the bedroom of one of his California victims. Its corners are pinned under glass, and a notation beneath the display confirms its connection to the Night Stalker's 1980s rampage. 32. High Standard 22 revolver from Eileen Wunos. Mounted on the upper right wall is a High Standard 22 caliber revolver, once used by Eileen Wunos, a sex worker turned serial killer. Wunos murdered 7 of her male clients in Florida. She was sentenced to death for 6 of the murders and was executed in 2002 after spending more than 10 years on Florida's death row. The revolver has notches carved into its handle, likely representing her confirmed kills. 33. 32 caliber revolver from Randall Woodfield, the I-5 killer. Adjacent to Wunos's firearm is a 32 caliber revolver linked to Randall Woodfield, a former Green Bay Packer pick and murdered women along the I-5 corridor in the Pacific Northwest. Though convicted in only 1 murder, he has been linked to a total of 18 murders and is suspected of having killed up to 44 people. He is currently incarcerated at the Oregon State Penitentiary. The weapon's serial number was filed off, and it's accompanied by an evidence tag from an Oregon crime lab. 34. Duffel bag from Salvatore Peroni, the John Doe duffel bag killer. Positioned below both revolvers is a black duffel bag. Perone, also known as the son of Sal Killer, was a traveling clothing salesman who killed 3 merchants in Brooklyn in a series of attacks that had shopkeepers on alert for months. He used the duffel bag to transport a sawed-off rifle and clothing between crime scenes in Brooklyn. Inside the bag are bloodstains and the faint odor of gun oil. Peroni was sentenced to 75 years to life in prison.
These are mine? Thanks for the bag, Sal.
Dexter later uses this very bag to carry Prater's killer files and his recovered blood slides when escaping the vault. 35. Machete from Juan Corona. In the upper left corner, a wide-bladed machete is fixed to a walnut display board. It belonged to Juan Corona, who buried 25 male laborers in orchards near Yuba City, California. Dried vegetation clings to the blade's handle, and an evidence marker reads "confirmed with 3+ victims." He served a life sentence in California State Prison, Corcoran, and died in 2019. 36. Straight razors from Jake Bird. Below Corona's machete lies a collection of straight razors. Although Bird was convicted using an axe, the razors reflect additional tools found in his possession. Bird allegedly cursed his executioners, and several died unexpectedly, a detail Prater notes in his file on the killer. Prior to his execution, Bird had implicated himself in up to 46 murders. He was hanged on July 15, 1949. 37. 19th century hammer from the Bloody Benders. At the base of the same display is an iron-headed hammer dating back to the 1870s. This belonged to the Bender family, a family of Kansas homesteaders who murdered guests and buried them on their property. By including the recovered body parts not matched to the bodies found, the finds are speculated to represent the remains of more than 20 victims. The hammer's wood grip is splintered, and the rusted head is flattened from repeated use. 38. Shovel from the West Mesa Killer. Along the lower left wall, isolated in its own display case, is a rusty shovel found near the West Mesa burial site in Albuquerque, New Mexico. The tool is believed to have been used to dig the graves of at least 11 victims, most of them sex workers. The blade is heavily worn and warped. Room 4. 39. Rope, glasses, and mask from Dennis Rader, the BTK Killer. In the center of Room 4 sits a pedestal featuring 3 items: a pair of glasses, a mask, and a length of binding rope. These belong to Dennis Rader, who bound, tortured, and killed 10 victims between 1974 and 1991 while leading a seemingly normal life in Kansas. The rope shows frayed wear, the glasses are wire-rimmed and cracked, and the mask resembles one described in several of his staged crime scenes. He is currently incarcerated at the El Dorado Correctional Facility in Kansas, serving 10 consecutive life sentences. 40. Chrome hammer from Arthur Mitchell, the Trinity Killer.
The infamous Trinity Killer.
Displayed on the lower right wall, above the Brooklyn Thrill Killer's item, is a polished chrome hammer. Arthur Mitchell used this weapon in the final stage of his 4-part kill cycle, bludgeoning a father figure to death. Though initially believed to kill in sets of 3, Mitchell's true signature involved 4 ritual murders repeated across states. This hammer was recovered after his death and bears microscopic traces of blood in the grooves. It is the same model hammer Dexter used to kill Arthur. 41. Brass knuckles from the Brooklyn Thrill Killers. Beneath the Trinity Killer's hammer, a tarnished pair of brass knuckles sits in a recessed wall slot. This gang of teens carried out violent attacks in 1950s Brooklyn under a supposed moral crusade. The 4 members of the gang were teenagers who belonged to Brooklyn's Jewish community: Jack Koslow, 18, Melvin Mittman, 17, Jerome Lieberman, 17, and Robert Trachtenberg, 15. The knuckles were used in at least 2 known assaults and retained faint markings on the interior grip, possibly from the wearer's fingers. Trachtenberg turned state's evidence and was eventually sent to a reformatory. Lieberman had the charges against him dismissed for lack of evidence. Koslow and Mittman were found guilty of felony murder during the act of kidnapping. They eventually won their appeal at their retrial and pleaded guilty of second-degree murder and were sentenced to 10 to 20 years, receiving credit for the 4 years they had already served in jail. 42. Rope-wrapped mannequin heads from Kenneth Bianchi, the Hillside Strangler. In the upper right corner, clear mannequin heads are wrapped with multiple lengths of nylon rope. These replicate how Kenneth Bianchi and his cousin Angelo Buono restrained their victims in Los Angeles. The ropes were used in his murders and are arranged in a vertical spiral and encased in plexiglass to prevent fraying from age and air exposure. Bianchi is currently serving a sentence of life imprisonment in Washington State Penitentiary. 43. Rope from Earl Nelson, the Dark Strangler. Beneath Bianchi's items is a single heavy-duty rope attributed to Earl Nelson, one of America's earliest known serial killers. Nelson's crimes took place across several states and often involved strangulation. The display pairs this rope with a mannequin head in a loose noose configuration. Ironically, Nelson was executed by hanging in Winnipeg in 1928. 44. Extension cord from Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer. Directly beneath the Dark Strangler's display is a thick orange extension cord, wrapped tightly around a set of translucent mannequin hands. Ridgway, who confessed to killing 71 women, frequently used ligatures during his murders. The cord in the vault is looped into knots and shows burn-like abrasions at key tension points. Ridgway is currently serving 48 life sentences plus 480 years at Washington State Penitentiary in Walla Walla, without the possibility of parole. 45. S&M outfit from Larry Eiler, the Interstate Killer. In the upper left corner of Room 4, a dark leather outfit associated with Larry Eiler's murders is arranged across a dress form. Eiler, who targeted young men along Midwestern highways, was known to bind and mutilate victims, with a minimum of 21 victims. The clothing includes a collar, buckled straps, and visible tear marks across the chest area. Eiler died of AIDS-related complications in 1994 while incarcerated on death row. 46. Blade from Gerald Stano. On the middle alcove of the left wall, a long, slender blade is presented above a belt. Gerald Stano confessed to the murders of at least 41 women, but police suspect his victim count may be closer to 88. The knife's blade is thin and tapered, with a bone handle. Lab markings on the base suggest it was processed for DNA testing. Stano was found guilty of 9 murders and received 8 life sentences and 1 death sentence, the latter of which was carried out by electric chair on March 23, 1998, in Florida State Prison. 47. Belt from Henry Louis Wallace, the Taco Bell Strangler. Below Stano's knife sits a worn leather belt, wrapped around a clear mannequin's head. Wallace used similar belts to strangle 11 women, many of whom he knew personally. The belt's buckle is slightly bent, and the leather is creased and darkened at the center, indicating pressure points. His moniker is attributed to him working as a manager at Taco Bell, and several of his victims were co-workers or related to them. Henry is currently awaiting execution at Central Prison in Raleigh. 48. Plastic bag from Robert Lee Yates, the grocery bag killer. In the lower left corner, a clear grocery-style plastic bag is displayed with a printed "Thank You" logo. Yates used similar bags to suffocate victims, often sex workers, and dispose of their remains in Spokane, Washington. The bag is sealed behind acrylic and includes a crime lab tag indicating trace blood residue. Yates, responsible for at least 16 murders, is currently serving life in prison at the Washington State Penitentiary. 49. Belt from Anthony Sowell, the Cleveland Strangler. Directly beneath the grocery bag killer's item is another display featuring a black belt, again wrapped around a mannequin's head. Sowell murdered 11 women in Cleveland, hiding bodies in and around his home. The belt in the vault is cracked along the interior and shows indentations from apparent over-tightening. After being sentenced to death for the murders, Sowell died at the Chillicothe Correctional Institution from a terminal illness. Room 5. 50. Metal pins from Albert Fish, the Gray Man. At the center of Room 5 sits a pedestal bearing a disturbing collection, several long metallic pins. These were self-inserted by Albert Fish, a sadistic killer and cannibal who preyed on children in the early 1900s. X-rays revealed dozens of these needles embedded in his pelvis. The pins in Prater's vault were recovered during his autopsy and are presented upright in a foam-lined case. Fish was executed on January 16, 1936, in the electric chair at Sing Sing. 51. Guitar and a Beach Boys' Never Learn Not to Love CD from Charles Manson. In the lower right corner, a wooden acoustic guitar is mounted beside a CD single of Never Learn Not to Love by the Beach Boys. The song was adapted from Manson's original composition, Cease to Exist. Though Manson did not physically commit murders, he directed the Manson family cult to kill on his behalf, including the infamous Tate LaBianca murders. The guitar features initials carved into the body, and the CD case is cracked and yellowing. After a guilty verdict, Manson spent the rest of his life at Corcoran Prison in Bakersfield, California. He died from complications from colon cancer at a nearby hospital on November 19, 2017. 52. Steering wheel from Ronald Dominique, the Bayou Strangler. In the upper right corner, a detached car steering wheel is mounted to the wall. Ronald Dominique, who murdered at least 23 men in Louisiana, used his vehicle to lure and transport victims. The steering wheel, cracked at the base, is accompanied by a notation linking it to his final crime scene. Below the display sit two wooden drawers containing Prater's private files and Cooper Morris's letters. Ronald is currently serving 8 life sentences at the Louisiana State Penitentiary in Angola. 53. Manhole cover remover from Don Frampt, the New York Ripper.
This was the New York Rippers, a man who terrorized the streets I once played on as a child. Highly prolific.
On the upper left wall is a rusted industrial-grade manhole cover remover, the signature weapon of Don Frampt, also known as the New York Ripper. Frampt used this tool to bludgeon and gut his victims. He then escaped through the sewer system. Dexter attempts to use this same weapon to escape the vault, returning it to its display afterward. Detectives Claudette Wilson and Melvin Oliva learn Frampt's identity using files recovered from the vault. 54. VW driver's seat from Ted Bundy. Midway along the left wall, a discolored and cracked driver's seat sits alone. It was removed from Bundy's iconic beige Volkswagen Beetle, the car he used to lure and abduct victims. The seat cushion is worn through, and traces of blood and hair were recovered during forensic testing in the 1970s. The seat's ID plate is displayed below on a brass plaque. Bundy was executed in the electric chair at Florida State Prison on January 24, 1989. 55. Cheryl Johnson record from Wayne Williams, the Atlanta child killer. In the lower left corner is a vinyl record titled Cheryl Johnson Try a Little Harder. Convicted of killing 2 adult men and suspected in over 20 child murders, was linked to this record label and audio equipment through forensic fiber analysis. The sleeve shows water damage and discoloration. Williams is serving his sentence at Telfair State Prison. He was never tried for any of the Atlanta child murders. 56. Glasses and scalpel bag from Harold Shipman, Dr. Death. Directly below the Atlanta child killer's record, a worn leather medical bag is displayed alongside a pair of wire-rimmed glasses. Dr. Harold Shipman, a British physician, is believed to have murdered an estimated 250 patients via lethal injections. The bag's clasp is broken, and one lens in the glasses is cracked, both recovered from his medical practice prior to his arrest. On January 13, 2004, one day before his 58th birthday, Shipman hanged himself in his cell at HM Prison Wakefield, West Yorkshire. 57. A box of letters from Cooper Morris. Located in the lower of the 2 wooden drawers beneath Ronald Dominique's steering wheel display, this sealed box contains the original letters sent by Cooper Morris to a young Leon Prater. Morris, who murdered Prater's parents, unknowingly sparked Prater's serial killer obsession. Though not displayed openly like the other trophies, these letters are considered Prater's first true collectible, the psychological seed of the entire vault. Leon felt more of a connection to Cooper than he ever did to his parents. Prater kept the letters hidden, out of reverence, not shame. 58 through 68. Leon Prater's files. Inside room 5, beneath Ronald Dominique's display, are 2 drawers filled with Leon Prater's alphabetized serial killer files. These contain detailed surveillance reports, forensic data, psychological profiles, and personal notes. While these killers do not have physical items on display in the vault, Prater clearly considered them part of his extended collection. The confirmed killers only in Prater's files. 58, Charlotte Brown, aka Charlie.
What's this?
Just a little something I found in your boss's secret file cabinet, time-stamped right before Mia's tragic suicide. There's a whole file on you.
Leon Prater's most trusted associate and personal fixer. Charlie did more than just clean up after killers. She scouted, recruited, and at times executed targets herself. Prater relied on her to maintain his network, silence threats, and procure new trophies for the vault. Her file includes surveillance photos, kill documentation, and images of her arranging the murder of Mia LaPierre. The file wasn't a trophy, just a means to keep her under Prater's control. 59. Callahan, 60. Jaw Splitter, 61. Kane, 62. Kincaid, 63. Kroll, 64. Midnight Mangler, 65. Rourke, 66. Sleepy-Eyed Stranger, 67. Thorne, 68. Yonkers Slayer. Along with his blood slides, Dexter takes the files of Sleepy-Eyed Stranger, Jaw Splitter, Midnight Mangler, Yonkers Slayer, and Al Walker, aka Al Jolly, when he leaves, ensuring he can find Al and finish what he started as well as have additional killers to hunt. Room 6. 69. Human Skin Lamp from Ed Gein, the Butcher of Plainview. At the center of Room 6 sits a grotesque centerpiece, a functioning table lamp constructed from human skin, stretched over a frame made of bone. Ed Gein, the inspiration for numerous fictional killers, exhumed corpses and murdered women in the 1950s. This lamp is a chilling example of his macabre home decor. Stitched seams are clearly visible, and the lampshade retains the texture of preserved epidermis. Gein was found legally insane and died at Mendota Mental Health Institute from respiratory failure resulting from lung cancer on July 26, 1984, aged 77. 70. Plaster death mask from the Cleveland torso murderer. In the lower right corner, a white plaster mask lies in a velvet-lined display case. The Cleveland torso murderer, active in the 1930s, was never caught, and this mask is modeled after one of his unidentified victims. It was created post-mortem and discovered in a storage unit containing old forensic evidence. The mask's features are partially obscured, with a fractured left cheek and empty eye sockets. 71. Unidentified flesh object from Rex Heuermann, Gilgo Beach Killer. Beneath the torso murderer's mask is an ambiguous object, possibly a preserved section of human skin. Though not formally labeled, it's connected to Rex Heuermann, the accused Gilgo Beach serial killer. The artifact appears to be cured tissue shaped into a rough spiral, and it's sealed in a vacuum chamber within the case. Its provenance is documented in Prater's handwritten logbooks. Rex has been indicted for multiple murders, but the case has yet to go to trial. 72. Horned mask from the flight attendant killer. In the upper right corner is a custom-made theatrical mask adorned with curled horns. The so-called flight attendant killer used this mask during at least 2 of his murders, both of which involved victims staged in elaborate poses. The mask is cracked along the brow and shows traces of stage makeup. It shares a display case with a prison uniform from another killer. 73. Prison shirt from Donald Pee Wee Gaskins, the meanest man. Beneath the flight attendant killer's mask, a gray prison uniform shirt is displayed. It belonged to Donald Henry Gaskins, who claimed to have murdered 100 people. Known for his small stature and vicious temperament, Gaskins killed both outside and inside prison. The uniform includes an inmate tag and bloodstains around the collar. Gaskins received the death sentence in September 1991 at Central Correctional Institution in Columbia, South Carolina. 74. Blade and Mother's Day card from Edmund Kemper, the co-ed killer. In the upper left corner of Room 6 is a 2-item shrine to Edmund Kemper, a hunting blade and a handwritten Mother's Day card. Kemper murdered 10 people, including his own mother and grandparents. He frequently discussed his crimes with a chilling calm. The blade's handle is engraved with initials, while the card contains disturbing prose written in red ink. Kemper is currently incarcerated at California Medical Facility in Vacaville. 75. Bloodied socks from William Suff, the Lake Elsinore killer. Beneath Kemper's display is a small box containing a pair of dirty blood-speckled socks. William Suff targeted women in California during the 1980s and 90s. The socks, recovered from his vehicle, were linked to multiple victims through DNA evidence. They are folded carefully and partially burned on the toes. Suff resides on death row at San Quentin State Prison. 76. License plates from William Bonin, the freeway killer. Below Suff's socks are 2 rusted California license plates, R1D22 F4. These were mounted to William Bone's van, which he used to abduct, assault, and murder 21 teenage boys and young men between May of 1979 and June of 1980 in Southern California. The plates are bolted to a black mounting board and include DMV registration records behind glass. Bonin was executed by lethal injection inside the gas chamber at San Quentin State Prison on February 23, 1996. 77. Nightgown and .25 caliber handgun from Lonnie David Franklin Jr., the Grim Sleeper. In the lower left corner, a tattered floral print nightgown and a .25 caliber semi-automatic handgun are displayed together. Franklin left a decades-long gap between murders, hence the nickname Grim Sleeper. The nightgown was recovered from one of his victims, while the handgun matches ballistics from multiple crime scenes. The gun's grip is cracked, and the nightgown is blood-stained and faded with time. On March 28, 2020, Franklin was found dead in his cell at San Quentin State Prison while on death row. Prater's vault wasn't just a gallery of Dexter's kills, it was a museum of monsters, a record of predators who left their own trophies behind.
Theory number 1. Leon Prater as the New York Ripper. Leon Prater is a wealthy philanthropist and collector of serial killer memorabilia who now possesses the Ripper's actual weapon, the manhole cover hook. On the surface, he presents himself as a billionaire venture capitalist and supporter of the NYPD, but at night he hosts unsettling dinner parties with active killers. Supporters of this theory point to several suspicious details. Prater speaks about the Ripper with unusual pride, unlike his discussions of other killers, almost as though he is praising himself. His possession of the original murder weapon goes beyond the behavior of a typical collector and suggests first-hand involvement. His familiarity with the neighborhoods where the killings took place also implies intimate knowledge of the crime scenes. Additionally, his traumatic childhood, in which he lost both parents in a car crash, mirrors the backgrounds of other killers in the franchise. If Prater is the Ripper, his charity work and serial killer gatherings would take on darker meaning. The parties could be opportunities to study rivals and eliminate threats while hiding behind his wealth and status. Employing Charlie, a trained operative, to protect him would make sense if he were secretly guarding himself as an active killer. With money and influence, he could erase evidence, silence witnesses, and maintain his reputation.
I didn't know what to expect, given your elusive identity. It is so wonderful to finally match the name with the face.
This would make him Dexter's most formidable opponent yet, a murderer with resources, social standing, and careful planning. However, there are strong challenges to this theory. The trope of a respected public figure secretly being the killer has already been used in Dexter with characters like Miguel Prado and Jordan Chase. Prater's public profile also makes it implausible that he could personally commit over 20 murders without being noticed. Finally, his physical stature due to achondroplasia raises practical issues about wielding such a heavy weapon effectively. These problems suggest that while Prater fits narratively, the logistics make the theory difficult to sustain. Theory number 2. Detective Melvin Olivia as the New York Ripper. Detective Melvin Olivia is Claudette Wallace's partner and is portrayed as quiet, reserved, and often in the background during investigations. The theory that he could be the Ripper relies on the idea of a killer hiding in plain sight within law enforcement. Olivia's position gives him insider knowledge of police procedures, forensic methods, and Wallace's investigative style. This would provide him with the skills to stage murders, evade capture, and stay one step ahead of those pursuing him. The Dexter franchise has previously used this type of reveal, such as with the ice truck killer's connection to Dexter himself, making it a possible direction. The strength of this theory lies in Olivia's proximity to the investigation. Being Wallace's partner, he would know how she builds cases, what evidence she looks for, and how to divert suspicion.
So the premises are not entirely secure.
Outsider could have snuck in, did the murder.
His quiet personality could conceal a calculating side that has been orchestrating the murders all along. If true, this would also explain how the Ripper managed to remain undetected despite Wallace's reputation as a skilled detective. The problem is that there is very little actual narrative support for Olivia being the Ripper. The series has not given him significant backstory or suspicious behavior that would set up such a twist. Unlike major villains in Dexter, where breadcrumbs are laid well in advance, Olivia has been presented only as a supporting character. Without deeper character development, this theory lacks the foundation to make a reveal of this scale believable. Theory number 3. Charlie as the New York Ripper. Charlie is Leon Prater's close associate, employed as part of his security detail. She has a military special operations background and a Harvard Law degree, giving her both tactical combat training and advanced legal knowledge. This combination would make her capable of committing murders with precision and also manipulating evidence if necessary. Her disgust at the killers Prater invites to his dinner parties could be misdirection. Instead of genuine revulsion, it could be a performance to divert attention while she secretly eliminates rivals and asserts herself as the most dangerous predator in the room. If Charlie were the Ripper, the irony would be striking. Prater, obsessed with collecting killers and boasting about his connection to the Ripper case, would unknowingly be employing the very person he has been chasing. This fits with Dexter's fondness for ironic or twisted reveals. Her access to Prater's resources, knowledge of his operations, and ability to monitor investigations from within would make her perfectly positioned to conceal her crimes.
Time to meet the man of the manor.
The weakness of this theory lies in how little has been revealed about Charlie's character. The writers have not provided the kind of layered hints or psychological depth usually associated with major villains in the franchise. While her background could theoretically align with being a killer, there is no direct evidence tying her to the Ripper's crimes. Without more development, the theory remains speculative and difficult to justify. Theory number 4. Jonah Mitchell as the New York Ripper. Jonah Mitchell, the son of Arthur Mitchell, the Trinity Killer, is one of the most discussed suspects. In Season 6 of the original Dexter, Jonah killed his mother in a violent outburst after discovering his sister's suicide. This moment revealed that Jonah was capable of lethal violence and hinted that he might follow in his father's footsteps. Supporters of this theory point to a scene in Nebraska where Jonah wielded a hook-shaped tool at his hardware store job. The Ripper's weapon, a manhole cover hook, resembles the tool Jonah used, suggesting a deliberate callback. Thematically, this theory fits into the show's exploration of generational trauma. Just as Harry Morgan influenced Dexter, and Dexter later shaped Harrison, Jonah could represent the continuation of Trinity's darkness. His statement to Dexter that he felt like he was becoming his father reinforces the idea of a legacy of violence. Fans also note that in Resurrection, audio of the Ripper taunting victims sounds similar to actor Brando Eaton, who portrayed Jonah, strengthening the connection.
A message he left for the sister of a victim.
She thought she could run. She didn't have anywhere to go in that shitty little house of hers. All she could do was cower in her own bed, your sweet little sister.
However, there are two major problems. First, in Season 8, Oliver Saxon's victim files appear to include Jonah Mitchell, implying that Saxon killed him. While some argue that Saxon never reached Jonah before his own death, the ambiguity undermines the theory. Second, the timeline conflicts with Leon Prater's recollection. Prater said the Ripper haunted the streets he played on as a child. Since Jonah is at least 20 years younger, he could not have been the killer active during that period. These issues make Jonah's candidacy controversial, even though the thematic connections remain compelling. Theory number 5. Blessing Kamara as the New York Ripper. Blessing Kamara is introduced in Dexter Resurrection as a kind, family-oriented man who drives for a rideshare service. Born in Sierra Leone, he was forced to be a child soldier before being rescued by his mother and starting a new life in New York. As an adult, he is portrayed as warm, generous, and loyal, living peacefully with his wife and daughter. His seemingly flawless character has led some viewers to suspect him precisely because he appears too good to be true, a common setup in Dexter. Supporters of this theory note Blessing's parallels to Brother Sam, another character who entered Dexter's life as a symbol of redemption. Blessing conveniently connects Dexter to Leon Prater and to the Ripper case, raising suspicion that he may have deliberately guided Dexter into this storyline. His calm demeanor in the face of violence against friends and other drivers could be read not as resilience, but as a lack of empathy. His past as a child soldier also provides a foundation for violent capability, since he admitted to killing at least once under coercion.
I apologize for unloading the ugliness of my childhood on you. I hope I haven't scared you. No, you're a good and gentle person, Dexter.
The difficulties with this theory center on timing and consistency. If the Ripper was already active during Prater's childhood, Blessing would have been either in Sierra Leone or newly arrived in New York. This makes it implausible that he could have been responsible for murders stretching back decades. Additionally, Blessing's stable family life over 30 years suggests genuine emotional bonds, which are inconsistent with the psychological profile of a long-term serial killer. While his openness about his traumatic past could be reinterpreted as compartmentalization, the evidence is thin, and it risks undermining his carefully built redemption arc. Theory number 6. The Ripper's storyline may never be resolved. Another possibility is that the New York Ripper is not meant to be unmasked in Dexter Resurrection at all. The Ripper could instead function as background world building, adding depth to the setting while leaving the killer's identity deliberately open. This aligns with the storytelling device known as Chekhov's gun. The writers introduced the weapon in Prater's collection and mention the Ripper frequently, implying eventual payoff. However, the reveal may be saved for later seasons rather than addressed immediately. This approach would allow the Ripper to serve as a looming threat or overarching villain in future storylines. Introducing the mystery in Season 1 builds anticipation without rushing the explanation. The killer could then emerge as the central antagonist in season 2 or 3, giving the writers time to expand on whichever character they choose to connect to the case. This strategy also avoids forcing weak twists onto underdeveloped characters like Detective Olivia or Charlie, whose lack of narrative depth makes them unlikely suspects at present.
1. Public persona, the family man face. Al Walker, also known as Al Jolly in the first season of Resurrection, is famous in his community for his vibrant, outgoing personality. He is the classic suburban dad, always present at his kids' soccer games, talking to neighbors on the driveway, and acting silly to make people laugh. His family photos show a loving dad surrounded by smiling kids. Al's wife and children genuinely seem to adore him, and at barbecues or church gatherings, nobody ever suspects anything out of the ordinary. He is known for his goofy jokes and warm laugh, making everyone feel welcome. This bubbly side is more than just who he is. It is his shield. For Al, acting like the perfect family man is a full-time job. He keeps his routine clean and predictable, keeping his yard neat and never causing trouble. Even in private, he gives his family the attention they crave.
Oh, you scored a goal! Oh, that's great, sweetie! Okay, listen, I gotta go, so love to you and Mom, okay? All right, bye.
This attention to detail in his public and private life is what lets him go unnoticed. Arthur Mitchell also mastered the family man facade. He was considered a model citizen, filling important roles in the community. Arthur volunteered for charities, attended church as a respected deacon, and always seemed ready to lend a hand. If someone needed a house built or support after a tragedy, Arthur was there to help organize and pitch in. His kindness won the trust of everyone around him. However, the way he treated his family in private was not the same. His family was terrified of him. Both Al and Arthur show how dangerous this family man mask can be. Their communities see them as pillars, good husbands, good fathers, and upstanding citizens. The truth is, this smiling public identity is carefully built to hide who they really are inside. 2. Secret double lives. Hidden murderer identities. What people don't know is that Al Walker's friendly, helpful nature is a deeply rehearsed act. At night or while traveling for work, he becomes someone else entirely, a serial killer who targets women. His victims all have one thing in common. They wear their hair in ponytails. Al stalks his chosen targets, always searching for women whose long hair matches his fetish. After strangling them with their ponytails, he takes it as a trophy, saving it as a grisly keepsake.
All right, I hope you like my little movie, Mr. Prater. Scary.
Al is skilled at staying under the radar. He chooses times and places where nobody will see what he's doing, such as a hiking or bike trail. He keeps up the charade at home by never acting strangely, or giving his family a reason to look deeper. His routine stays the same before and after his murders, and he tells believable stories if ever questioned about his whereabouts. Arthur Mitchell's double life was just as frightening, but more structured. Arthur's murders followed a precise ritual, a set order and specific methods connected to personal trauma from his childhood. Unlike Al, who acts on compulsion and secret desire, Arthur carried out his killings as a way to relive and control events from his past.
You made me do this!
His ritual involved 4 separate murders every killing cycle, each one echoing the tragedies of his own family members. Even their families are fooled. Arthur's wife and children lived under strict control, and they feared him, but they never imagined that when he left home he was the Trinity Killer. Al's family, meanwhile, simply has no clue, because Al is careful never to let his darkness cross into his home life, and he seems to genuinely love his wife and children. 3. Rituals and trophies, why they kill and what they collect. Al Walker's ritual revolves around hair. He is obsessed with women's ponytails. It is so strong that his serial killer nickname is Rapunzel. The ritual doesn't end with killing them. Every murder must provide a trophy. After strangling his victims, Al carefully cuts off and keeps their ponytails. This collection of hair represents his need for control, excitement, and personal satisfaction. It is the secret heart of why he kills. Each trophy is proof of a successful hunt, giving him power and pleasure only he understands. The ritual is planned but also unpredictable, driven by urges he cannot fight. Unlike Al, Arthur Mitchell, aka the Trinity Killer, followed a rigid kill sequence. Each kill represented a moment of tragedy from his own childhood. First, he would bury a young boy alive to symbolize how he felt after his sister and mother died, leaving him to be beaten daily by his father, who blamed him. Second, he killed a young woman in a bathtub to reenact his sister's accidental death. Third, he forced a mother to jump from a very high location reflecting his mother's suicide. Finally, he would bludgeon a man to death symbolizing how he killed his father. Each step was methodical. It was in the same order every time. Each murder must mimic the traumatic events exactly, down to the smallest details. Arthur didn't collect trophies. Instead, he smeared ashes from his sister's urn at every crime scene. For both men, ritual is about making sense of their inner chaos. Al's trophies let him relive the moment he dominated his victim, keeping the memory alive. Arthur's cycles allowed him to turn pain into power again and again.
Pop-Pop says it's time for a haircut.
They all have to die.
In both cases, the ritual is not a random choice. It is a structure that makes their crimes meaningful to themselves, even as it makes them more dangerous to the world around them. 4. Family manipulation, control, and impact at home. Both Al Walker and Arthur Mitchell used their families as tools to support their double lives. Arthur was stricter and more violent with his family, turning his home into a place of fear. He locked his family in a routine, where they must follow every rule or face harsh punishment, like being locked in a room or having their fingers broken. Arthur's wife and children knew they were never truly safe around him, but they acted like everything was fine to outsiders. Al Jolly, on the other hand, presents as a caring, fun father in front of everyone, and he is. He tries to make his home a happy place with games, sports, and smiles, but this is also a way to hide what he really is. Al values the image of a loving family and uses it as a mask to keep suspicion away.
But your family will never know the whole you if you ever let your mask slip. The good husband and perfect father would disappear.
Inside, however, both men's families suffer. The constant pretending creates stress and confusion, sometimes leaving long-lasting trauma, especially for the children. 5. Methods of avoiding detection. Both Al and Arthur are experts at blending in and hiding their true selves in plain sight. Arthur took on important roles in his community, helped at church, did charity work, and acted like a model citizen. This public face made it hard for anyone to think of him as dangerous. Al is different, but still hides in plain sight by being outgoing and friendly, always looking happy to see people and eager to help out. His charm stops people from suspecting him, and he's careful to keep his criminal actions separate from his public life.
Oh, pal.
I try to keep the Prater world separate from my family life.
You understand.
I do.
Both know that acting ordinary is their best shield. They take advantage of the fact that people will trust a friendly face or believe in community leaders. Their shared talent for acting helps them get away with their crimes for years. 6. Childhood trauma and its lasting effects. Arthur Mitchell's entire life was shaped by things that happened to him as a child. Each of his murders was a ritual that repeated a part of the pain and loss he felt when he was young, like the death of his mother and sister and the violence from his father. These memories never left him, and his crimes became a way to feel in control of that old pain. Al Jolly's trauma is different and less structured, but it is also deep. His dangerous behavior comes from personal pain and a need to repeat strange patterns tied to his family, especially his mother.
I assumed mommy issues were a given in this crew. Take one guess how Al's mother wore her hair.
How many is that for you?
Glasses?
Yeah.
4.
Arthur's trauma made his actions precise. He did things in the same order and the same way each time. Al's trauma makes him unpredictable, sometimes acting out for reasons even he doesn't fully understand. Both men show how childhood scars can grow into powerful forces that shape the rest of a person's life. 7. How their facades start to crack. Both Al and Arthur were very skilled at pretending nothing was wrong, but keeping up with such big secrets is hard. Al's lively, almost exaggerated concern for others cracked when he felt threatened by Dexter. He started to act nervous, changed plans at the last moment, and did things like throw away his phone to avoid being tracked. As Dexter got closer, Al trusted him less and less, finally running away to keep himself safe.
It kills me to let Al go free. For now.
Arthur's mask began to slip the more Dexter hung around him. It became truly obvious when they hit a deer and had to put it down. His strict routines, normally his strength, became weaknesses when someone started looking closer at them. Cracks in Arthur's mask also showed at home, where his family suffered under his control and the false image he wanted everyone to see. In both men's lives, the need to keep up their charades either have or will eventually become too heavy, leading to mistakes, fear, and their secrets slowly coming to light. 8. The roles of fear and control. Al and Arthur both use fear and control as central parts of their secret lives, but they operate in different ways. Arthur was motivated by control. Every murder was part of a ritual, and that gave him a sense of power over his trauma. He controlled his household with strict rules. His wife and kids lived in a constant state of fear because he acted like he owned them. Arthur's need for control leaked into every part of his life, from how he selected victims to how he handled his family. The fear he created wasn't just outside the home, it was at the heart of his family routine. Al Jolly's fear and control come from his unpredictability. He acts friendly and concerned in public, but his real personality is always close to breaking out. Al doesn't always follow clear rules for killing. Instead, he acts on impulse, often driven by deep private fears. His outward charm hides how dangerous he is, making people trust and like him, even when they shouldn't.
Al has the biggest smile I've ever seen. You'd think he has it all.
Al is unpredictable and often acts on instincts, while Arthur sticks to patterns and rituals developed over years. But both use fear as a tool, Arthur in a careful, planned way and Al in a spontaneous, gut-level way. 9. How Dexter gets involved and their downfalls. Dexter's pursuit of Arthur Mitchell was one of the most intense storylines in the series. Arthur was able to live a double life for decades because he was careful and disciplined, but Dexter finally pieced together his routines and exposed the truth. Arthur's downfall came because Dexter wouldn't let go, not because he was sloppy. This led to tragedy for Arthur's whole family, which was already damaged by his violent rules.
Your life is a lie. These are lies. Community hero?
Jonah, this isn't...
Al Jolly's downfall is different. While he is smart and cautious, his true weakness is his sharp instincts. Even after the members of Prater's club all fell around him, he set up a dinner with Dexter, where Dexter had planned on killing him. Al sensed something was wrong. He stood Dexter up and completely cut off contact, escaping before Dexter could catch him. He even threw his phone out the window on the highway so he couldn't be found easily.
Hey, you know what? I'll see you next year if Prater keeps this tradition going.
If this year's murders didn't mess it all up.
Even though Dexter eventually finds out Al Jolly's real name was Al Walker, along with where he lives, Al has proven to be harder to trap than the others. Unlike them, Al didn't underestimate Dexter and won't fall for the same tricks. This sets up a long-lasting chase, at least into Season 2. Dexter's determination means Al won't stay hidden forever, but Al's blend of childlike instincts, careful lying, and willingness to disappear make him a uniquely challenging target for Dexter. The story hints that Dexter will eventually catch him, but Al's unpredictability could stretch their rivalry over several episodes or possibly even longer. 1. The Trinity Killer's return as Arthur Mitchell. One of the most significant Easter eggs in Dexter Resurrection is the brief return of Arthur Mitchell, famously known as the Trinity Killer. Played by John Lithgow, this character was the formidable villain of Dexter's 4th season, and is widely regarded as the darkest and most chilling antagonist in the original series. Although the Trinity Killer was killed by Dexter in Season 4, his presence in Resurrection appears as a phantom or vision when Dexter wakes up in a hospital bed, suggesting an internal haunting rather than a physical comeback. This cameo serves multiple purposes.
Wait, you think Harrison's my fault?
It connects Resurrection closely to the original show's legacy, reminds viewers of Dexter's darkest adversary, who changed his life irrevocably, and sets a haunting tone by reflecting Dexter's unresolved trauma linked to that season. It's also an elegant nod to fans without overshadowing the new storylines, as Lithgow only filmed one day of scenes for this purpose. 2. The getaway yacht scene and nighttime body disposal. Dexter Resurrection pays homage to one of the original series' most iconic visual motifs, the yacht getaway and nighttime disposal of bodies at sea. In the original Dexter series, the final episodes often contained scenes where bodies or evidence were discarded discreetly on boats under the cover of darkness. Resurrection recreates this imagery precisely, visually recalling those tense moments and reinforcing Dexter's enduring method of cleaning up after his kills. The yacht is more than a setting. It symbolizes Dexter's attempt to maintain control over his double life. The scene acts as a visual Easter egg, reminding the audience of the early season's balanced, methodic pace, and offers continuity to the character's long-established habits. 3. Brian Moser's Ice Truck Killer return. And the meaning of 103. Brian Moser, Dexter's long-lost brother and the infamous Ice Truck Killer, reappears in Dexter Resurrection, not only as a character, but as a symbol tied to deeply rooted psychological trauma. One of the most notable Easter eggs connected to Brian is the recurring significance of the number 103, which references the date of their mother Laura Moser's brutal murder, October 3rd. This number appears in subtle places, tying back to their shared traumatic past and the dark passenger theme that forces Dexter to confront his origins repeatedly. Brian's return and these numerical Easter eggs create a direct link to the foundational parts of Dexter's identity and history, grounding Resurrection in the series' original emotional core. 4. The present timeline Easter egg linking to Dexter. Original Sin. Another intricate Easter egg in Resurrection is the introduction of a present timeline detail that connects directly to Dexter Original Sin, the prequel series. This comes through a news article about Aaron Spencer, which is the first ever explicit present timeline Easter egg, tying Resurrection to Original Sin, with a precise date and contextual relevance. It serves as a bridge linking the spin-off prequel with the Resurrection timeline, expanding the Dexter universe's continuity. This connection is subtle but important, because it enriches the story world by acknowledging events and characters across multiple series, reinforcing a coherent and layered narrative universe. 5. Reference to Dexter's death in New Blood. One of the most significant Easter eggs in Dexter Resurrection is the direct reference to Dexter's apparent death at the end of Dexter New Blood. While New Blood concluded with Dexter being shot by his son Harrison and left bleeding in the snow, Resurrection retcons this event by explaining that Dexter survived due to the extreme cold. Medical experts consulted within the show's lore state that hypothermia slowed Dexter's heart rate and metabolic functions, which helped him survive what would otherwise be a fatal gunshot wound. This survival is pivotal because it links the two series narratively and provides context for Dexter's gradual recovery and resurrection. The show also recalls this past event in a subtle way through visual motifs like flashes of blood on snow and Dexter's fragile physical state early on, reinforcing the connection in the audience's mind without rehashing the New Blood finale verbatim. Moreover, Dexter's interaction with his son Harrison in Resurrection is layered with echoes of that violent act, especially the lingering emotional trauma from Harrison's shooting of his father, deepening their complex father-son dynamic. 6. Blood Slide and Ice Truck Killer callbacks. Throughout Resurrection, there are several visual and thematic Easter eggs referencing Dexter's original exploits, particularly the iconic blood slides that were central to the original series' trophy method.
Sometimes it sets my teeth on edge. Other times it helps me control the chaos.
These slides mark the victims Dexter selected, symbolizing his meticulous nature and morbid collection. Resurrection integrates this motif by showing characters connected to past victims or killers through imagery of blood slides or references to other notorious killers like the Ice Truck Killer. The Ice Truck Killer, who first appeared in Season 1 of the original series, is referenced through hints in the background settings and subtle narrative allusions to Dexter's early detective work in Miami. These callbacks serve to honor the show's deep roots and remind fans of Dexter's origins as a balance between forensic investigation and his darker killer persona. 7. Symbolic use of jazz music. Music plays an important role in Dexter Resurrection's atmospheric storytelling, and the use of the jazz piece Cristo Redentor is particularly significant. The track is used not just as background music but as a symbolic nod to the series' legacy. Jazz has long been associated with Dexter's internal world, reflecting the mix of complexity, emotional depth, and underlying melancholy within his character. Cristo Redentor operates as a musical motif linking Resurrection back to the original series, evoking a sense of continuity and reflection. The choice of such a contemplative piece highlights key emotional moments, underscoring Dexter's struggle with his identity and past demons. The recurring jazz theme also helps maintain tonal consistency across the series, signaling to longtime viewers the deeper symbolic layers behind the narrative. 8. Episode titles as meta-commentary. The episode titles in Dexter Resurrection function as subtle Easter eggs themselves, often containing layered meanings that reflect overarching themes or foreshadow plot developments. For example, the episode titled The Kill Room Where It Happens is a direct meta-commentary referencing Dexter's infamous sanctuaries, where he disposes of his victims meticulously and with ritualistic precision. This title recalls the original kill rooms Dexter used in earlier seasons and hints at how the new season will revisit or reinvent these iconic spaces. Other episode titles cleverly allude to Dexter's ongoing psychological battles, his complicated relationships, and hints at new characters such as Red, who play pivotal roles in Resurrection's storyline. These titles serve as both thematic anchors and hidden clues, encouraging attentive viewers to decode their double meanings as the series unfolds. 9. Miami Metro Detective references in Dexter Resurrection. Dexter Resurrection weaves deliberate references to Miami Metro police detectives to firmly connect the series back to Dexter's original universe. Several key characters from Miami Metro, including Joey Quinn, Angel Batista and Vince Masuka make appearances or are referenced, grounding Resurrection in the policing world fans have seen throughout the franchise. Joey Quinn's return is notable, especially as he is now promoted to lieutenant, a rank he attained sometime after the events of the original series. This promotion is significant as it mirrors the progression of other Miami Metro officers like Maria LaGuardia, showing both real-time character development and continuity. Scenes featuring Miami Metro detectives are used to reaffirm the law enforcement backdrop against which Dexter's shadowy actions unfold, and to highlight the ongoing police pressure in Miami, despite Dexter's activities moving to a new setting. References to investigative tactics and challenges faced by detectives Batista and Quinn remind viewers of the cat-and-mouse dynamic that defined Dexter's relationship with the police for many years. 10. Chainsaw imagery as a symbol of childhood trauma. Throughout Dexter Resurrection, visual motifs like the chainsaw evoke deep psychological and narrative significance. The chainsaw is a direct callback to Dexter and his brother Brian Moser's early traumatic experience, being present for their mother Laura's brutal murder inside a shipping container. This horrific event is etched into their psyches and defines their development as serial killers. Resurrection uses chainsaw imagery not just as a nod to fans, but as a symbolic reminder that unresolved past trauma continues to haunt Dexter. This symbol also ties Dexter's present struggles back to his origin story, emphasizing that while he might have physically left Miami, the psychological scars of that trauma remain a key driver of his behavior and motivations. 11. The new Dark Passenger Killer in Dexter Resurrection. In Dexter Resurrection, the Dark Passenger name is taken by a New York serial killer named Ronald Red Schmidt. Unlike Dexter's internal Dark Passenger, which metaphorically represents his urge to kill guided by a strict moral code, Red is a ruthless real-world murderer. He targets rideshare drivers, decapitating them with a wire saw, and taking their driver's licenses as trophies. He wears a special hoodie equipped with infrared lights to evade dashcam surveillance, making him nearly invisible on cameras. Red's motive is personal, and his killings are fueled by anger and grief, lacking the ethical boundaries Dexter imposes on himself. This new Dark Passenger is a dark reflection of what Dexter could become without control or purpose. Dexter's mission to stop Red is also a symbolic reclaiming of the Dark Passenger identity. By killing Red, Dexter confronts and asserts ownership over his darker instincts, distinguishing his own code from the chaos Red represents. This confrontation highlights a key theme of Resurrection: Dexter's struggle to redefine himself after nearly dying, moving beyond his past while facing new threats to his identity. 12. Miguel's graveyard hallucination and symbolic headstones. In one haunting scene, Dexter experiences a graveyard hallucination where several headstones bear the names of important innocent victims from across the franchise, including his late wife Rita, his sister Deborah, and Maria LaGuardia. This apparition is a powerful symbolic Easter egg, representing Dexter's ongoing psychological burden and guilt. These headstones act as a visual ledger of Dexter's indirect responsibility for the death of those closest to him. The scene also foreshadows unresolved storylines and Dexter's continuing battle with his past. For fans, it's a moment rich with meaning, linking Resurrection emotionally and thematically to the entire Dexter saga by acknowledging the weight of those who have been profoundly affected by Dexter's world. 13. The Clown Suit and Prater's Trophy Vault. In Dexter Resurrection Episode 4, Dexter is introduced to Leon Prater, a wealthy venture capitalist with a dark obsession for serial killers. Prater's penthouse hides a secret museum dedicated to infamous killers, both real and fictional. Among the memorabilia, a clown suit stands out, referencing John Wayne Gacy's infamous Pogo the Clown costume. This is a direct nod to Dexter Original Sin, where the Gacy costume featured prominently. Dexter's stunned reaction underscores the continuity of Resurrection with the prequel series. The museum also features a blood-stained fridge from cannibal Jeffrey Dahmer, and artifacts linked to Ted Bundy, Charles Manson, and others. This setting is a meta-commentary on the serial killer mythos, placing Dexter amid celebrated murderers, contrasting his own code of targeting only criminals. 14. Dexter's blood slides and trophies displayed. In a pivotal moment within Leon Prater's museum, Dexter finds a display containing trophies from some of his most iconic kills. This includes the hammer he used to kill Arthur Mitchell, the Trinity Killer. Equally significant is the box of blood slides, an iconic symbol carrying deep meaning from the original Dexter series. These slides were seized by the FBI during LaGuardia's investigation and thought lost, so their appearance in Prater's collection is a substantial callback. The display also includes the table where Dexter killed his brother, the ice truck killer. Dexter's tender reaction toward these trophies shows his conflicted feelings, nostalgia mixed with discomfort, reminding viewers of the long, complicated journey of his dual life. 15. Cell phone and GPS tracking as a modern killer's vulnerability. Throughout Dexter Resurrection, technology plays a more pronounced role, particularly in scenes where Dexter uses cell phones with GPS and other tracking devices. This represents a modern vulnerability that contrasts the more analog methods featured in earlier Dexter series. The presence of these devices reflects today's heightened surveillance environment and Dexter's increased risk of exposure. Symbolically, it underscores the idea that his traditional kill room precautions require adaptation. The constant tension of being tracked and potentially discovered adds a layer of suspense, as Dexter must now navigate a world where every movement can be monitored, complicating his mission and stealth code. 1. Michael C. Hall's return as core Dexter. Michael C. Hall's return as Dexter Morgan marked the emotional and narrative revival of the Dexter franchise. Hall originally defined the character with his unique ability to blend charm, darkness, and vulnerability, making Dexter a complex and compelling anti-hero. His return not only reconnected longtime fans to the familiar face, but also reaffirmed the continuity of the story. Hall's performance brings authenticity to Dexter's internal struggle, embodying both the cold precision of a serial killer and the conflicted nature of a man trying to reclaim his sense of self after a near-death experience. This casting decision was crucial in grounding the series, giving it the emotional weight that earlier seasons were known for, and driving renewed audience interest and loyalty from the outset. Without him, any revival risked feeling hollow or disconnected from the original show's spirit.
Last time we saw you on screen as Dexter, you were dead.
So it seemed.
Yes, it really did seem.
The return of Hall ensured the franchise's core remained intact while paving the way for new directions in the storyline. 2. Return to original series themes and tone. Resurrection restored the dark humor, moral ambiguity, and suspenseful tone that characterized the best seasons of the original show. The series revisited Dexter's code, a strict moral framework instilled in him by his adoptive father Harry Morgan, dictating that he only kills other killers who have escaped justice. This code creates complex questions about justice and morality, inviting the audience to root for a killer bound by his sense of right and wrong. Resurrection successfully evoked this delicate balance between fascination and fear, often using Dexter's internal monologue to provide insight into his duality. It avoided the trap of becoming overly moralistic or preachy, a criticism that plagued later seasons of the original series. Openly embracing the dark comedy aspect made the show feel more authentic to its roots.
Do share a certain resemblance. Except I'm still breathing.
This tonal fidelity helped re-establish the unique niche Dexter occupies, a serial killer protagonist with a conscience, walking a tightrope between light and dark. 3. Showrunner Clyde Phillips's leadership. Clyde Phillips, the original creator and showrunner behind Dexter's celebrated first 4 seasons, returned to helm Resurrection. His involvement was pivotal for the series' strategic storytelling and high quality. Phillips is credited with establishing the tone, pacing, and narrative structure that made the early seasons outstanding. Under his guidance, Resurrection delivered a tighter, more coherent plot compared to the uneven narrative seen in later Dexter seasons. Phillips brought a renewed focus on character development and a measured unfolding of suspense, staying true to the franchise's original ethos. His expertise also ensured that Resurrection honored the legacy while introducing fresh ideas and complications.
Then Michael came to me and said, Clyde, you've got Dexter in your blood. I've got Dexter in my blood. I want to do more. Can you figure out how to unkill me?
Returning showrunner leadership reassured fans and critics alike that the continuation would handle the material with care and creativity, rather than relying on gimmicks or nostalgia alone. 4. Addressing past finale criticisms. Resurrection consciously repaired many of the criticisms fans and critics had about the original Dexter series finale and the New Blood sequel. Both prior endings divided the fan base due to perceived unsatisfying or rushed resolutions that undermined key character arcs. Resurrection instead offered a more thoughtful, nuanced closure without closing the door entirely on future stories. It provided emotional payoffs for Dexter's journey and acknowledged his unresolved struggles, especially with his son Harrison. By reopening the narrative carefully and not erasing Dexter's past, the series corrected what many saw as narrative missteps, making up for earlier damage to the franchise's legacy.
Jim Lindsay, faking your death.
I don't know, I needed a new start. My life had become such hell. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense.
This thoughtful approach rebuilt viewer trust and allowed the show to grow organically while respecting the character's complex history and development. 5. Strong, engaging storyline with new and old characters. Resurrection balanced nostalgic callbacks with fresh, compelling storytelling. The plot centered on Dexter awakening from a coma after being shot by his son Harrison, who himself struggles with dark impulses. The storyline entwines the father and son's journey toward potentially reconciling their violent legacies. New antagonists like Leon Prater added fresh tension and menace, while the return of pivotal past characters such as Angel Batista deepened emotional stakes. The series navigated themes of legacy, redemption, and identity through complex character relationships and moral dilemmas. This dual focus on the familiar and new kept the storyline gripping, maintaining suspense and emotional engagement, and renewed audience interest beyond mere nostalgia.
Notice how the bowl is an English bis color, whereas the lid is alabaster? It may have been used as the murder weapon, then subsequently replaced.
Just what Harrison needs, a good cop.
The layered narrative offered psychologically rich confrontations, personal struggles, and the classic cat-and-mouse dynamics Dexter fans expect. 6. Return and development of Harrison Morgan. Harrison Morgan's story is central to Dexter Resurrection, reflecting a complex character evolution that salvages his troubled introduction in Dexter New Blood. After shooting Dexter and disappearing, Harrison is shown working as a bellhop in New York City, struggling with his dark urges and fantasies reminiscent of his father's violent tendencies. Resurrection deepens his characterization by exploring his internal conflict between following in Dexter's footsteps and seeking a different path. Throughout the series, Harrison wrestles with his violent impulses while increasingly reconnecting with Dexter, forming a fragile father-son bond that injects renewed emotional stakes into the narrative.
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, she surprised me too.
No, I'm talking about your whole wanting to be a cop thing.
Harrison's decision to attend New York University and pursue criminal justice symbolizes his attempt to break free from his family's shadow. Though his struggles with inner darkness remain a constant tension, this storyline elevates Harrison from a problematic character in New Blood to a multi-dimensional figure integral to the franchise's future. 7. Memorable role and impact of Angel Batista. Angel Batista's return to the franchise in Resurrection enhances continuity and emotional resonance. Batista, a longtime colleague and friend to Dexter from the Miami Metro Police Department, arrives in New York investigating Dexter's whereabouts after the shooting. His role introduces a grounded and humanizing element amid the dark drama, representing law enforcement's moral complexities. Batista's character faces peril when manipulated by antagonist Leon Prater, ultimately leading to a dramatic and impactful death.
I'm sorry. Dexter Morgan. F*** you.
This event carries heavy emotional weight for Dexter, underscoring themes of loss, betrayal, and justice. Batista's death serves as a catalyst for Dexter's actions and adds depth to the storyline, reminding fans of the original series' character dynamics and raising the stakes for the protagonist. 8. Revitalized dark humor and fun. Resurrection skillfully restores the dark humor that was a hallmark of the early seasons of the franchise. The series brings back Dexter's sardonic inner voice, a crucial element that offers ironic commentary on his violent acts, creating a uniquely engaging lens through which viewers experience the story. Unlike the more somber tones of later seasons and spin-offs, Resurrection strikes a balance between suspenseful drama and moments of dark wit, giving audiences a refreshing blend of entertainment.
You're a good and gentle person, Dexter.
Tell that to the dead man in my bathtub.
This tonal revival not only appeals to longtime fans yearning for the original series' flavor, but also differentiates the show from other crime dramas by maintaining its signature blend of menace and sardonic levity. 9. Organic and consistent plotting. A critical strength of Resurrection lies in its tightly woven, organic storytelling. Unlike previous seasons that suffered from pacing issues or convoluted subplots, Resurrection follows a clear, consistent narrative arc that builds steadily toward compelling climaxes. Plot developments feel earned rather than forced, and character actions maintain internal logic, heightening viewer investment.
The Gemini Killers. Twins. Fuck me.
The season balances ongoing mysteries, character conflicts, and thematic exploration without resorting to filler episodes or distracting detours. This focus on coherent, engaging plot workmanship restores confidence in the franchise's creative direction and sustains suspense effectively throughout the season. 10. High critical and fan reception. Dexter Resurrection has received widespread acclaim from both critics and fans, marking a significant comeback for the franchise. It debuted with a 100% critics score on Rotten Tomatoes, later stabilizing impressively above 90%, and consistently achieved high audience ratings, with many episodes rated above 9/10 on IMDb. Reviewers praised Michael C. Hall's compelling portrayal of Dexter and the creative leadership of Clyde Phillips, noting that the series successfully blends nostalgia with fresh storytelling. Fans expressed enthusiasm for the show, renewing the franchise's strengths and correcting past mistakes, which reignited excitement and trust in the Dexter brand.
It's embarrassing. I'll just come out and say it. I'm a fan.
This remarkable reception reflects how Resurrection not only lives up to expectations, but surpasses them, solidifying its status as one of the best entries in the series. 11. Balanced use of nostalgia and fresh elements. Dexter Resurrection successfully balances legacy and innovation by reintroducing familiar characters from the original series while integrating new well-developed characters and story arcs. This balance ensures that longtime fans feel connected to the show through nostalgic callbacks without the series becoming overly reliant on past glories. Classic characters such as Dexter himself, his son Harrison, and Angel Batista provide continuity, while new antagonists and fresh-faced protagonists bring original drama and complexity, preventing the story from feeling stale or repetitive. The show carefully manages the screen time and narrative weight of returning characters to avoid overshadowing new characters, allowing the storytelling to evolve organically.
Red, I didn't know you have a son.
This approach maintains the franchise's signature themes of dark morality and suspense, while injecting fresh energy and perspectives that engage new audiences alongside veterans. 12. Creative use of symbolic and emotional closure points. Dexter Resurrection excels in creating emotionally impactful moments and symbolic narrative beats that deepen the storyline and character development. Key scenes use symbolism to represent inner conflicts and transitions, such as Dexter grappling with his dual identity as a father and killer, or the strained relationship with his son Harrison, symbolizing the complex legacy Dexter leaves behind.
You want to go after that serial killer.
He stole my name.
You're in New York City to make sure your son is okay.
It's called multitasking.
The show integrates powerful emotional climaxes thoughtfully, giving weight to character deaths, reconciliations, and revelations without resorting to sensationalism. These closure points ensure that character arcs feel meaningful and earned, providing depth beyond mere plot advancement. By weaving symbolism and emotional resonance into its storytelling, Dexter Resurrection enriches its narrative, making the experience more immersive and satisfying for the audience. 13. Strategic long-term story planning. Unlike some past Dexter installments that suffered from rushed or inconsistent storytelling, Resurrection employs well-planned, long-term narrative arcs designed to sustain the franchise for multiple seasons. The writing team constructs storylines with clear progression and payoff, laying groundwork for future conflicts and developments, while resolving key issues satisfactorily. This careful planning prevents filler episodes and underdeveloped subplots, enhancing pacing and engagement. The multi-season approach offers space for character growth, thematic exploration, and fresh challenges, balancing immediate drama with overarching franchise longevity.
Hey, heard there may be a new guy. Welcome to the freak show.
No place I'd rather be.
Such foresight demonstrates a deliberate shift to franchise stewardship that prioritizes quality and coherence, addressing fan concerns over prior seasons' uneven quality and providing a stable foundation for Dexter's continued evolution. 14. Introduction of compelling new antagonists. Resurrection revives the franchise's tradition of complex, memorable antagonists by introducing new villains who challenge Dexter morally and physically. Characters like Leon Prater are designed with multifaceted personalities and motivations, elevating the tension and stakes beyond simple good versus bad dynamics. These antagonists force Dexter to confront new dilemmas about justice, loyalty, and identity, enriching the dramatic conflict. Their presence reinvigorates the suspense central to the franchise, delivering unpredictable plot twists and psychological depth.
Welcome, Red! We're so grateful to have you here. To new friends.
To new friends.
To new friends.
By crafting well-rounded villains who resonate with the series' dark tone, Resurrection maintains the critical balance between protagonist and antagonist that made the original show compelling. 15. Modernizing the franchise for streaming and new audiences. Dexter Resurrection updates the franchise with higher production values, modern filming techniques, and a bold narrative style suited for streaming platforms and contemporary viewers. The setting shifts to New York City, offering a gritty, dynamic backdrop that contrasts with previous Miami locales and reflects today's urban complexity. Faster pacing, visually sophisticated cinematography, and elevated social media engagement strategies ensure greater accessibility and appeal to a wider demographic.
Great. It'll only take me 2 hours to get to Queens. New York City.
Storytelling integrates current themes and diverse characters, capitalizing on streaming's broader reach and binge-watching culture. These technological and cultural updates make the franchise competitive in today's crowded television landscape, attracting new fans while retaining core viewers. This modernization is critical to revitalizing Dexter's relevance beyond nostalgia and cementing its future longevity. Locked in the vault with Angel Batista's body. The finale opens with Dexter locked inside Leon Prater's trophy vault, a soundproof room containing serial killer memorabilia, evidence files, and the dead body of Angel Batista. Prater had murdered Batista in the previous episode after Dexter refused to kill him. Batista ended up tied to Brian's kill table when he went to Prater's to tell him that Dexter's true identity was
the Bay Harbor Butcher.
Prater's plan was to leave Dexter locked in the vault for 3 days without water, effectively executing him by dehydration. The vault's interior included tools, restraints, and cases full of trophies. Prater had collected them from various serial killers. Dexter covers Batista's body with a sheet and begins searching for a way out, fully aware that if he doesn't escape soon, he will die next to the body of someone who once considered him a friend. Brian Moser's return and the guilt over Batista. Inside the vault, Dexter experiences a hallucination of Brian Moser, his biological brother and former adversary. Brian appears sitting on his kill table, where Dexter killed him years ago. His presence serves as a psychological manifestation of Dexter's guilt and internal conflict over Batista's death. Brian taunts Dexter about Batista's murder, arguing that Batista was never truly his friend, and suggesting that Dexter should have embraced his darker instincts rather than rejecting them.
You did it again.
This confrontation contrasts Dexter's past and present choices, particularly the moral framework he developed through Harry's code versus Brian's chaotic ideology. Brian's appearance also emphasizes the emotional impact of Batista's death. Unlike previous hallucinations used for guidance or sarcasm, this encounter is framed by real grief. Dexter had rarely shown visible emotion over death, but in this instance, he is overwhelmed, and Brian's appearance is triggered as a symbolic embodiment of guilt, temptation, and psychological regression. Using Batista's phone to call Harrison while he was occupied. After discovering Batista's phone still inside the vault, Dexter unlocks it using facial recognition. He attempts to call Harrison to get help, but Harrison doesn't answer immediately. After calling several times, eventually, Gigi picks up and informs Dexter in explicit terms.
Hey asshole, Harrison can't talk right now. His mouth is full of me. Your dad wants to talk to you.
Despite the awkward moment, Harrison takes the call. Suspicious of why his father is calling from Batista's phone, he immediately connects it to the previous time Dexter used a cop's phone, the night Officer Logan died. Dexter explains the urgency. Batista is dead because Prater killed him, and Dexter is locked in Prater's vault, likely to die next. Harrison quickly decides to act. He contacts a friend working the New York Police Foundation Gala, an event hosted by Prater, and arranges to take a job as a server so he can infiltrate the mansion without being detected. This call sets the rescue plot in motion and marks a critical turning point in the episode, where Harrison assumes an active role in saving his father, despite the personal risk and ethical implications. Harrison infiltrates the gala in a white suit. Harrison enters the New York Police Foundation Gala by posing as a server, thanks to a favor from a friend already working the event. The gala is being held at Leon Prater's mansion, the same building where Dexter is locked in the vault above. The event is attended by high-ranking NYPD personnel, including detectives Wallace and Olivas, which adds further risk to Harrison's infiltration. To stay connected with his father, Harrison wears AirPods and leaves his phone in his front pocket with an active FaceTime call to Dexter. This allows Dexter, still trapped in the vault, to guide Harrison through the building, using visual cues and directions. Harrison carefully navigates the crowd, avoiding both Prater and Charlie, Prater's security fixer. At one point, Prater unknowingly takes a drink from Harrison's tray, but doesn't pay enough attention to recognize him. When Harrison reaches a guarded stairwell, he distracts the security officer by pointing out a fellow server, his friend, who appears to be high. The guard leaves to investigate, giving Harrison a clear path upstairs. This sequence blends stealth with tension, as Harrison uses improvisation and the training Dexter once gave him, including lockpicking, to move closer to the vault. His calm under pressure and willingness to defy danger demonstrate a significant shift from earlier in the series, showing how far he's come since his introduction. Prater's vault of files, Killer's leverage, and Charlie's secret. While trapped in the vault, Dexter begins examining the numerous file folders stored in Prater's collection. The vault doesn't just contain physical artifacts from serial killers, it also holds meticulously detailed dossiers. These files include sensitive information about various active killers in the network, as well as incriminating material on individuals Prater manipulates and controls, including Charlie. Among the folders is one labeled with Charlotte Brown, Charlie's full name, which Dexter quickly identifies as leverage. Inside are surveillance photos showing Charlie making a payment to a man shortly before Mia's death, evidence that clearly implicates her in orchestrating the murder and staging it to look like a suicide. The file confirms that Prater has been blackmailing her, using her mother's medical care as leverage to keep her obedient and compliant within his network. Dexter realizes that the folder is not just insurance, it's power. Prater collects secrets the same way he collects kill trophies, to maintain dominance. Every file is a potential threat, especially to those like Charlie, who are deeply embedded in his operations. This discovery becomes the key to shifting the power dynamics later in the episode. It also reveals how far Prater has gone to protect his empire, not just with violence, but with surveillance, extortion, and manipulation. How Dexter got Charlie to release Harrison and turn on Prater. As Harrison approaches the vault, he is intercepted by Charlie, who confronts him at gunpoint. At this point, Dexter is still connected via FaceTime and sees what's happening in real time. Instead of panicking, Dexter immediately pivots to a psychological strategy using the leverage he uncovered inside the vault, Charlie's file. Dexter texts Charlie's own file photo to Harrison's phone. The image shows her paying a man shortly before Mia's death, effectively confirming her direct involvement in arranging Mia's murder, and it proves that Prater has been collecting evidence against her all along. Dexter tells Charlie that,
"The thing is, Charlie, there's quite a few cops downstairs. You'd be surprised how many of them keep their airdrop wide open. It would only take me a second."
Though the feasibility of an airdrop at that range is questionable, the psychological threat is effective. He also plays on her emotional vulnerability by mentioning her mother, reminding her that if she's arrested, no one will be there to take care of her. Cornered, Charlie makes a deal. She will release Harrison, but won't open the vault. She insists that if he attempts to send anything from Batista's phone, she'll kill Harrison on the spot. If anything comes out later, she'll hunt him down, torture, and kill him. Despite the one-sided deal, this moment marks a major turning point. Charlie's loyalty to Prater fractures under the weight of betrayal and control. She tells Harrison she's done taking orders and that she has unfinished business with her former employer. Charlie's decision to step aside sets the escape into motion, but also signals that she's no longer aligned with Prater, a key shift that alters the final confrontation's outcome.
I'm going to disappear. You're going to keep paying for my mother's medical care. Or we can go scorched earth. Up to you.
Guessing the vault code and escaping with Harrison's help. With Charlie stepping aside, Harrison reaches the vault and prepares to open it. The lock is protected by an 8-digit code, and there is only one attempt allowed. A wrong input would trigger a lockdown and alert the authorities attending the gala downstairs. Dexter initially believes the code could be tied to a significant date, the night Cooper Morris killed Prater's parents. Cooper was the man responsible for the traumatic incident that fueled Prater's obsession with serial killers. Dexter begins reciting the possible date to Harrison, digit by digit, 03/26/1982. But suddenly hesitates before finishing. Inside the vault, Dexter notices a different number on a letter from Cooper Morris, an inmate number from one of his prison correspondences. Realizing this would be a more personal and permanent reference for Prater, Dexter tells Harrison to stop and try that code instead. The gamble pays off. Harrison enters the inmate number, and the vault unlocks. Father and son reunite in the vault, briefly embracing before Dexter tells Harrison to leave immediately. Dexter is still determined to protect Harrison from the darkness of what's to come, and urges him to escape while he still can. Prater holds Harrison at gunpoint. As Harrison leaves his hiding spot from detectives Wallace and Olivas, Prater happens to catch a glimpse of him from the stage. As Harrison is searching for an alternate way out of the building, Prater heads to security to look through the surveillance cameras. Once he finds them, he tells the guard to shut off the cameras and takes his gun. Leon Prater intercepts Harrison at gunpoint. Furious and increasingly unhinged, Prater forces Harrison back into the vault, shifting the power dynamic once again. Dexter had just made it out of the building when he received a call from Harrison, except it's Prater on the line. When Dexter asks where his son is, Harrison tells him that they're in the wine room. When Dexter walks back in, Prater has a gun to Harrison's head. Prater reveals that killing Batista awakens something in him. The rush, the control. He confesses that the act of murder, once observed from a distance through others, has now become personal. He's crossed the line from collector to participant, and he wants to keep going. His next kill will be Harrison. Dexter, realizing the danger, offers an exchange himself for Harrison. He tells Harrison he's sorry for being a shit dad, and to remember to use the protection he gave him.
If you're spending the night there, you might want some protection.
Dexter points at his heart and tells Prater again to take him instead. As Prater points the gun at Dexter, Harrison takes the opportunity to inject him with the M99. The sedative takes effect immediately, and Prater collapses. Harrison tells Dexter,
"That better be the last time you tell someone to shoot you in the chest."
This moment is crucial. It's not just a defensive act, it's Harrison making a conscious decision to step into Dexter's world. But it's also not a kill, it's restraint, control, a choice made under pressure, but with a clear goal, survival. Prater is now unconscious on the floor. Dexter knows exactly what to do next. Prater on Brian's kill table, no blood slide, no mercy. With Prater sedated and restrained, Dexter turns the vault into an impromptu kill room. The space originally built by Prater to house trophies from serial killers becomes the stage for the final confrontation. Tools are selected, but this isn't just a return to ritual, it's a reckoning. When Prater regains consciousness, he panics. The man who once curated serial killers like collectibles is now strapped to a table, about to become one of their victims. He begs for his life, offering bribes, making excuses, and trying to manipulate the situation, but nothing works.
I'll give you anything you want. A life of luxury.
I'm good.
Dexter is visibly angry, more so than in most past kills. What sets this moment apart is that Prater didn't just endanger the public, he directly threatened Dexter's son. Harrison was nearly executed simply for trying to save his father. That line was one Prater never should have crossed. During the confrontation, Dexter warns him never to speak Harrison's name again, a line delivered with intense rage and protective fury. This is not just about justice. It's about vengeance, legacy, and fatherhood. For once, Dexter's kill isn't about satisfying the dark passenger. It's about protecting what remains of his family. Despite the emotional intensity, Dexter still refuses to take a blood slide. He tells Prater that
I don't want to remember you.
The denial of this symbolic trophy, which would have immortalized Prater in Dexter's private ritual, is a deliberate insult. For someone obsessed with being recognized by killers, it's the ultimate erasure. Dexter kills Prater and dismembers the body. The remains are later dumped in New York Harbor, not to commemorate a pattern, but to erase one, exposing Prater for Batista's murder and his serial killer network. After killing Leon Prater, Dexter immediately begins covering his tracks and redirecting the investigation. The priority is twofold: to ensure Harrison is not implicated, and to expose Prater for who he truly was, not a philanthropist, but a serial killer enabler and murderer. Dexter uses Prater's own trophy room against him. The vault is filled with incriminating evidence: weapons, blood-stained memorabilia, detailed files on active serial killers, and most importantly, the body of Angel Batista. Prater had murdered Batista in cold blood, and Dexter leaves the scene staged to make sure the NYPD can trace it directly to Prater. To seal the cover-up, Dexter sets off the alarm system in the mansion, ensuring that the police already attending the gala downstairs will discover the vault. With Prater's fingerprints on the murder weapon that killed Batista, investigators will quickly assume that Prater was the killer and had fled the scene. He ensures nothing remains in the vault that could tie him or Harrison to the events. From the police's perspective, Prater appears to have been an obsessed serial killer collector who finally acted on his fantasies, murdering a high-profile cop and disappearing to avoid arrest. The framing is airtight. The evidence Dexter leaves behind supports that narrative perfectly. In the eyes of the NYPD, Leon Prater becomes the villain, and the Morgan name disappears from the scene once again, destroying the evidence and keeping just enough. Once Prater is dead and the vault prepared for discovery, Dexter turns his attention to the files. The vault contains folders on numerous killers and associates. These files represent both a threat and an opportunity. Dexter destroys the evidence that directly implicates him. His pictures in Red's file, the one incorrectly labeling him as the dark passenger, are removed, but he leaves the file for the cops. This ensures that when the police uncover the vault, nothing inside will connect him to the killings. But not every file is discarded. Dexter selectively keeps certain dossiers, particularly those documenting other active killers within Prater's network. These files are valuable intelligence, each one a potential future target. In effect, Prater's obsession with cataloging murderers becomes a resource that Dexter can exploit. By doing this, Dexter balances erasure with preparation. He removes the immediate danger of exposure while holding on to tools that can guide his next moves. The destruction protects him. The preservation gives him purpose. This calculated choice underscores Dexter's long-term thinking: survival first, control second, and a steady supply of potential victims always waiting in the background. The NYPD Gala. While a deadly confrontation unfolds upstairs, a very different scene plays out downstairs. The New York Police Department is holding its annual fundraising gala, and it's in full swing. Officers, detectives, donors, and city officials fill the ballroom, unaware that just one floor above them lies a trophy vault filled with serial killer memorabilia and the body of one of their own. Detectives Claudette Wallace and Melvin Olivas are in attendance, blending in with the crowd, sipping cocktails and taking photos. Wallace grows visibly impatient after being told they need to wait for Leon Prater to take additional pictures before they can leave. At one point, Claudette begins to exit the event, until the opening notes of her favorite song, the Bee Gees' Stayin' Alive, stop her in her tracks. Without hesitation, Claudette returns to the center of the ballroom and begins dancing, not just casually, but with full choreography. She performs the iconic Stayin' Alive routine with confident precision. Olivas joins her, and the two detectives let loose on the dance floor. Their carefree performance provides an oddly upbeat contrast to the violence unfolding upstairs. But the celebration doesn't last. The party is abruptly interrupted when Dexter triggers the vault's alarm. The music cuts, the lights shift, and every officer in the building pivots toward the disturbance. The gala stops cold, and the distraction is over. The NYPD finds the trophy room and the New York Ripper file. After Dexter triggers the alarm system in Leon Prater's mansion, the NYPD, already present at the gala downstairs, responds quickly. Detectives Wallace and Olivas, both of whom had been investigating various related homicides throughout the season, followed the signal to the vault. Upon entry, they uncover the full extent of Prater's hidden life. Inside the vault, they find Angel Batista's dead body, the murder weapon bearing Prater's fingerprints, dozens of trophies and memorabilia from various serial killers, detailed files on multiple active and former murderers, the preserved hook weapon used by the New York Ripper, and the file on him, one of the season's key unsolved cases. The discovery is overwhelming. It doesn't just implicate Prater in Batista's murder, it reveals that he had been curating a secret society of killers, tracking their movements, collecting evidence, and in some cases, enabling or manipulating them. One of the most significant pieces of evidence is the weapon tied to the New York Ripper. The presence of this item raises serious questions. Was Prater merely an admirer, or had he been working with the Ripper? The detectives are left to piece together what Prater was really doing, but the implication is clear. A high-profile philanthropist and law enforcement benefactor was actually at the center of a vast underground network of serial killers. This revelation completely rewrites the narrative around Prater and his legacy. It also opens the door for future investigations into both the Ripper and the files Dexter left behind. The final scene. I am Dexter Morgan. The last line. The episode closes with a quiet but powerful moment. Dexter, now free from the vault and from Prater, is alone on Prater's boat drifting out into open water. In contrast to his former solitude in Miami, this scene doesn't suggest escape. It signals acceptance. He reflects silently, thinking back on everything that's happened. Batista's death, Harrison's involvement, Prater's execution, and the destruction of the vault. For once, he's not running from who he is or pretending to be someone else. In the final moment of the season, Dexter turns to the camera and says,
I'm Dexter Morgan. I'm exactly who I need to be. Exactly who you want me to be.
The line serves multiple purposes. It acknowledges Dexter's duality, a killer who believes he serves a purpose. It directly confronts the audience's complicated relationship with him, cheering for him despite what he is. It echoes his original identity, reclaiming the name Dexter Morgan after years of a false persona. It insinuates an upcoming season 2. This final line marks a thematic resolution. It closes the chapter not with denial or remorse, but with clarity. Dexter fully embraces his nature as someone who has learned to live with both sides of himself, not as a monster pretending to be human. The screen cuts to black. No more aliases, no more running. Just Dexter Morgan, unmasked. Paramount Plus has officially renewed Dexter Resurrection for a second season, bringing Michael C. Hall and the original creative team back to continue the story.
Hey, what's up? It's Michael C. Hall here. We've been greenlit for another season.
With new writers, expanded character arcs, and accelerated production, Season 2 picks up directly from the explosive finale, setting the stage for fresh antagonists, unresolved threats, and bold narrative twists. The series' return reaffirms Dexter's relevance in modern TV, promising another gripping chapter for both longtime fans and new viewers. 1. Harrison Morgan's storyline. Harrison enters Season 2 having survived the violent events of the finale and forged a renewed bond with his father, Dexter. Having played a crucial role in saving Dexter from Leon Prater's deadly trap, Harrison faces the challenge of defining his own future. He is torn between the promise of a normal college life and the lure of vigilante justice, as his exposure to Dexter's methods deepens his understanding of moral ambiguity. Season 2 focuses on Harrison's development, exploring whether he will embrace his father's code or forge a new path. Harrison must contend with unresolved trauma, guilt over his involvement in Prater's murder, and pressure to support his father amid new threats.
Why all this plastic?
You know the concept of leave no trace?
His arc is expected to raise questions about legacy, self-control, and the possibility of redemption, especially as he encounters figures who force him to confront his sense of identity and justice. The dynamic between Harrison and Dexter will shift, with Harrison likely tested by temptations from both sides, either stepping closer to becoming his father's partner, or fighting to break free and build a life on his own terms. 2. Dexter's new hit list. In the final episode of Season 1, Leon Prater's vault delivered Dexter a cache of files on active serial killers. The New York Ripper revealed to be Dawn Frampt in Episode 10 of last season, Jaw Splitter, Midnight Mangler, Rapunzel, who was Al Jolly in Season 1, Yonkers Slayer, and more. The list represents targets who have evaded law enforcement and whose brutal methods threaten new victims. The New York Ripper stands out as the most notorious, a killer whose crimes and influence ripple through New York. Dexter may want Al Walker to be first on the list because he's already evaded Dexter's attempt in Season 1. Dexter's pursuit of these targets continues his personal code.
But who am I kidding? This is who I am.
Eliminating those deemed irredeemably dangerous. His strategy, however, must adapt to deadlier adversaries and the likelihood of interwoven alliances among killers. As Dexter moves through the list, he faces new moral questions. Not every name is a simple monster, and choosing which cases to prioritize could push him to make difficult alliances or leave some threats unaddressed. The new hit list is both a mission statement and a map for Season 2's escalating conflicts, promising confrontations with the most sadistic characters in the Dexter universe. 3. Blessing Kamara. Friend or foe? Blessing Kamara is Dexter's current landlord in New York, a character layered with ambiguity and potential influence over Dexter's future. Although not a killer from Prater's files, Blessing's backstory and personal hardships, especially following the death of his mother, could possibly set up a major subplot for Season 2.
It's my mother. She's passed. It happened like she wanted in her sleep.
In Season 1, Blessing confided in Dexter about wrestling with darkness from his time as a child soldier, hinting at a personal history of violence, but claiming to be reformed by his mother's guidance. The friend or foe arc is built around the uncertainty in Blessing's role. Fan theories suggest he could relapse into darkness now that his mother is gone, or develop suspicions regarding Dexter's true nature. As Dexter's landlord, Blessing's knowledge of his comings and goings, private life and potential secrets poses an ongoing risk. The season may explore whether Blessing becomes an ally, helping Dexter evade law enforcement or supporting his goals, or a liability if personal struggles drive him to reveal or threaten Dexter. Ultimately, Blessing's future hinges on how grief and temptation interact. He may either become one of Dexter's closest confidants, or a new adversary who complicates Dexter's already treacherous balance between ordinary life and his secret killings. The tension and unpredictability surrounding Blessing promise to add depth and suspense to Season 2. 4. The return of Lady Vengeance theories. Mia Lapierre, also known as Lady Vengeance, was arrested in Season 1 after Dexter exposed her as one of New York's most elusive and brutal vigilante killers.
There's a guy screaming next door. I think some chick's trying to murder him. I heard her call herself Lady Vengeance or some shit.
Although she was shown to be murdered in jail, persistent rumors among fans and sources suggest her death may have been faked, either by corrupt officials or through deals with secretive crime networks connected to Leon Prater. This theory is fueled by the fact that her file in Prater's vault still had an active label, rather than a terminated one like the Canton Clubbers did. Season 2 opens up possibilities for Mia's resurgence. If she survived, Mia could return to exact revenge on Dexter, team with him against common enemies, or alter her identity to operate covertly. Theories indicate Mia's knowledge of Dexter's methods and her own code could make her an unpredictable ally or rival. A resurrection twist would raise stakes for Dexter and force him to contend with a figure as cunning and motivated as himself. Whether Mia reappears as a force of destruction, an uneasy collaborator, or an ongoing absence that destabilizes those around her, her storyline could fuel major plot developments in Season 2. 5. Charlie and her money problems theory. Charlie's storyline in Season 2 could be defined by her ongoing financial distress.
My mother got ill. He found out about her. Helped with doctors and specialists. Bought her 8 more years. So far.
She blackmailed Leon Prater in the final episode of Season 1 to continue to pay her mother's medical bills. With Prater dead and the source of her funds cut off, Charlie faces mounting pressure to find new ways to support her mom. Plot theories focus on her next moves. Charlie could seek help from Dexter and Harrison, knowing that they most likely killed Prater and potentially suspecting they have access to his hidden resources. She may be driven to desperate measures, such as fraud, embezzlement, or leveraging her investigative skills to gain leverage or income. Her technical expertise also makes her attractive to both criminal and legitimate interests, heightening the risk that she becomes a target or a pawn in larger schemes. The moral tension in Charlie's storyline is central. She could betray Dexter if her mom's survival is at stake, but she's shown a strong conscience and likely hopes for redemption. Her financial struggles act as a catalyst for broader drama, connecting her fate to Dexter's and pushing her toward critical decisions that may define her loyalty, survival, and ethical limits for the entire season. 6. Theories of returning legacy characters. Some theories suggest Season 2 brings Joey Quinn and Vince Masuka into a more prominent spotlight as the investigation into Leon Prater's disappearance and Angel Batista's murder gets underway. Unresolved evidence and open questions may prompt Quinn and Masuka to travel to New York, either officially or on their own, to look into Dexter's connection to the ongoing case. Quinn, with his history of suspicion and personal stakes in uncovering Dexter's secrets,
I think I know who Kyle Butler is. Do you recognize this man?
Could become a threat and potential wildcard. Masuka's forensic skills put him at the center of new crime scenes, raising the risk of direct confrontations. Both characters are likely to interact with local law enforcement and compete against New York's own investigators. Fan theories suggest other legacy characters could return via flashbacks, guest appearances, or surprise plot turns, especially if Miami Metro's prior files intersect with Prater's criminal network. This infusion of old and new personnel increases the narrative stakes, making Dexter's attempts to cover his tracks even more complicated and dangerous. Returning faces from Miami Metro reinforce the franchise's deep continuity, while setting up dramatic tension and opportunities for unexpected alliances and betrayals. 7. Detectives Claudette Wallace and Melvin Oliva. Detectives Claudette Wallace and Melvin Oliva continue as anchor figures in the NYPD investigation. Wallace, known for her sharp instincts and relentless pursuit of cold cases, remains determined to unravel the new string of murders and connect them to Dexter's presence in New York. Wallace relies on her instincts, experience, and determination, while Oliva's role as her partner ensures they operate as a focused investigative team, pursuing leads and re-interviewing key witnesses as they dig deeper into Dexter's activities and the rise of vigilante killings. Their combined investigative skills, tenacity, and direct knowledge of Dexter's prior close calls make them key adversaries for both Dexter and Harrison. The detectives are positioned to reopen old cases, identify inconsistencies in Dexter and Harrison's story, and apply pressure as Miami Metro's Quinn and Masuka enter the scene. The Wallace-Oliva partnership intensifies law enforcement's presence, making it more difficult for Dexter to stay hidden while also setting the stage for new alliances, unexpected betrayals, and mounting risks as the body count grows. 8. Bryan Cranston's casting rumors. In the weeks following the Season 1 finale, speculation surrounding Bryan Cranston's rumored involvement in Dexter Resurrection has dominated fan and industry conversations. Theories took off after multiple entertainment outlets and social media accounts reported that Cranston was being considered for a significant role in Season 2, possibly as the show's next major antagonist. As of now, no official casting announcement has been made by Paramount Plus or the showrunners. The rumors persist largely because Cranston's reputation for complex anti-heroes, especially Walter White of Breaking Bad, aligns with Dexter's tone and would draw substantial viewer interest. If cast, Cranston could play a new big bad, a rival serial killer, or even a law enforcement official whose intelligence and moral ambiguity rival Dexter's own. Fans are going crazy over this one.
You're goddamn right.
Their excitement centers on the dynamic Cranston could bring, whether as a mastermind orchestrating killings in New York or a nemesis embedded within the justice system. Industry insiders point to both scheduling and creative negotiations as obstacles, so it remains uncertain whether this high-profile casting will materialize. However, the mere possibility continues to generate buzz, creating anticipation for casting news and shaping audience theories about Season 2's biggest threats. 9. Fan favorite theories. Returning characters. Season 2 is fueling speculation among fans about the potential return or appearance of several beloved and infamous characters from Dexter's past. Theories around Hannah McKay, Dexter's former love interest and Harrison's mother figure, propose that she could return either alive and in hiding or via significant flashbacks, influencing Harrison's decisions or escalating trauma from her absence. Deborah Morgan, Dexter's late sister and one of his most powerful guiding voices, remains central to fan discussions. Although canonically dead, Deborah could continue to appear to Dexter as a manifestation of his conscience, similar to her role in New Blood, providing internal commentary or warnings as Dexter navigates increasingly dangerous situations. Other theories speculate and wish for cameos or plot relevance for Aster and Cody, Dexter's stepchildren, or even Rita via hallucinations or archival footage. The connective tissue among these theories is their influence on Dexter's mental state, Harrison's journey, and the evolution of family dynamics. Whether by haunting visions, inherited trauma, or story twists, these characters are expected to remain part of the franchise's emotional fabric, keeping the show's history alive while propelling new tensions and storylines. 10. Potential expansion beyond New York. As Dexter's hit list grows and surviving killers scatter, fan theories and narrative hints point toward an expansion of the show's setting beyond New York. The files Dexter obtained from Leon Prater's vault suggest a nationwide network of criminals and vigilantes operating in other major cities. Season 2 may follow Dexter as he tracks targets across state lines or confronts threats that draw him into new environments, such as Chicago, Los Angeles, or Miami. This shift allows writers to introduce fresh antagonists, revisit old connections, and heighten suspense as Dexter navigates unfamiliar territory. An expansion would test Dexter's adaptability, he'd encounter new law enforcement systems, rival killers, and distinctive social landscapes. Fans theorized that these moves could reconnect Dexter with figures from his past, especially if legacy stories in Miami or other locations become relevant. Broadening the franchise's scope revitalizes the narrative and aligns with the premise that Dexter's battles are part of a larger struggle against evil.
To remind me why I do what I do.
Whether through road trips, multi-city manhunts, or alliances with distant vigilantes, Dexter's journey is poised to transcend New York, promising new challenges, dramatic twists, and world-building that keeps the franchise fresh.
11.
Season 2 production updates and expanding threats. Though trailers and casting announcements are still forthcoming, reports confirm that the writers' room and pre-production have been in full swing since late September 2025. Producers have hinted at additional antagonists tied to broader criminal networks, vigilante movements, and even possible copycat killers inspired by Dexter's methods. The writers are expected to expand the show's mythology by revealing connections between past and present killers, increasing the complexity of Dexter's challenges and forcing him to adapt.
Once you miss it, it's gone forever. Perfect moment.
Some new threats may arise from Dexter's own actions, as former allies seek revenge or as public scrutiny of the killings grows. As Dexter's legend expands, the franchise can introduce new cities, international intrigue, or multi-killer storylines, keeping the narrative fresh. These developments are designed to keep viewers engaged and ensure the franchise remains relevant as Dexter faces deadlier adversaries, new forms of justice, and the possibility of his own legacy taking unexpected turns. The ongoing evolution of killers, tactics, and plots promises that Dexter Resurrection will continue to push boundaries and deliver bold storytelling in future seasons. Filming is expected to begin before the end of the year, with the network targeting a mid to late 2026 premiere, though the date is subject to change based on production schedules and possible industry delays. Michael C. Hall and key cast members have signed new deals, and the creative team, led by showrunner Clyde Phillips, has indicated that Season 2 will continue right where Season 1 left off, introducing major new characters and storylines. Rumors about guest stars, expanded locations, and the franchise's evolving tone are fueling anticipation across fan communities and media outlets. Updates about casting, trailers, and official episode release dates are expected in the coming months as production moves ahead. Season 2 is set to deliver another round of high-stakes drama, new villains, and deeper exploration of Dexter's world, with announcements and news dropping throughout 2025 and early 2026.